I'm Scott Hansen, host of NFL Red Zone. Lowe's knows Sundays hit different when you earn them. We've got you covered with outdoor power equipment from Cobalt and everything you need to weatherproof your deck with Trex decking. Plus, with lawn care from Scott's and, of course, Pit Boss grills and accessories, you can get a home field advantage all season long. So get to Lowe's, get it done, and earn your Sunday. Lowe's, official partner of the NFL.
Today, we'll have Nathan's 16-person DCL Alaskan cruise. That's coming up on this episode 479 of WDW Prep to Go. Hello and welcome to WDW Prep to Go, where we talk strategy and ideas for people planning their Disney World trips. I am your host, Shannon Albert from WDWPrepSchool.com. Thank you for being here for episode 479. Today is a mega trip report with Nathan, who just recently went on an Alaskan cruise with Disney Cruise Line, and it was with 16 people. Absolutely incredible. I'll get to that in just a moment. As always, a reminder to follow on social media and to get on our email list. We send out emails once or twice a week to keep you updated on everything that's happening, as well as new content that we've put out, et cetera, et cetera. So be sure to jump on that if you haven't already. If you would like to be a trip report guest like Nathan, the only way to do that is using the SpeakPipe information in the show notes of every episode. If the details of your trip are something that lines up with our calendar and it's something different that we haven't had, then somebody on my team will reach out to you to make sure that the details of your trip haven't changed since you left your voicemail. And then we can get you booked for a pre-trip and a post-trip. I think that is it. Without any further ado, here are my chats with Nathan. Welcome to podcast, Nathan.
Thank you for having me. It's good to see your face.
Tuesday, August 19th is when we're talking, and I understand you're headed on a big Disney cruise.
That is right. Yeah. So we have 16 of us on this family Alaska cruise. We're going for my in-laws' 50th wedding anniversary, which was earlier this summer. So there's going to be the grandparents, and then between kind of 4 separate family units, there's 7 of us from my generation, and then 7 kids. So we have a 9-year-old girl, a 7-year-old boy, a 6-year-old boy, 2 4-year-old girls, one of which is mine, 3-year-old girl, and then the youngest is my son, who is 8.5 months old.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was booked before he was born, right?
This was booked before he was born, but we kind of waited until afterwards to really give the definitive numbers and names and all that. But yeah.
Okay. All right. So lots of people going, and it's not just their 50th wedding anniversary. You told me.
Yes, that's the other thing. Yeah, so my in-laws have been to 49 states, and Alaska is number 50. So this is going to be, for pretty much all of us, our first time in Alaska. It's our first Disney cruise also. So there's a lot of big special occasions for this one.
So tell me, because a lot of people will consider other cruise lines for Alaska. How did you decide on Disney?
Yeah, so this is, I think, in keeping with the way that my in-laws have wanted to travel since the kids were born. Is like they like doing big family trips, and like from the age range you can see, right? It's like pretty prime Disney age for a lot of the kids. So a couple years ago, like before we had our son, when our daughter was just 2, we did a big family trip to Disney World, and it was, I would say, a big success. Everyone was very happy. And so they thought, if we're going to do an Alaska cruise, we should do it with Disney. We should make it kid appropriate. So you'll see, I mean, we're not doing a ton of adult oriented activities. It's very like for the kids, I would say, which is how the grandparents like it. So I'm not going to complain.
Okay, so it's their anniversary, but they wanted to make sure everybody was comfortable. So they chose.
Exactly.
And if you don't mind me asking, since it's their anniversary, does that mean that they are do they pay for it? Do you guys pay for them? How does this work?
So it's an open it's an open situation, I would say. Like they basically said they don't want this to be a situation where anyone is not able to go because they can't pay. So they kind of have this in the back of if you need support, let us know. We're using their travel agent, so we do have that kind of built in. But I think luckily we're all in the situation where we can also contribute ourselves. So everyone is kind of, I don't know exactly how it works across the entire, like every family unit, but everybody is paying their way to some extent for this. Yeah.
Okay. So everyone has the grant, and that's for a group of 16. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Again, this is one of those things where things aligned very nicely, and I think everybody's really excited and looking forward to it. And it's going to be, a little bit. It's one of those like once in a lifetime type of situations. So I think we're really trying to lean into that.
Yeah. 100%. Lots of things that are special about this. Okay, so tell me the exact dates of your trip beginning and ending.
Yeah, so the cruise itself is from the 25th of August to the 1st of September. We are, and I say we being like my family, my wife, me, and our 2 kids, we're flying in from New York to Vancouver on the 23rd. So we arrive on Saturday, hopefully, a couple days before the cruise.
Can you say why you said hopefully?
Yeah, so we're flying Air Canada, and the latest as of this morning is that the strike has been canceled, but Air Canada is in the middle of a big workers' strike, and we are hopeful that they will be like restarted and flying by the time that our flight takes off. But I mean, to your point that you've made on the blog, right? This is why you try to book travel in advance and don't just plan to show up the day before. So we did book a backup flight, like a refundable backup flight on Sunday in case it doesn't actually go. But we're hoping that we can get out on the 23rd because we're planning to meet a couple friends in Vancouver before the cruise leaves.
And the backup flight, different airline?
United, yeah. So we have hopefully the ability. And I know United, it's also complicated because United actually has a number of flights that are booked on United, but actually operated by Air Canada. But we made sure that this was not one of those flights. So, and that's also the flight that everybody else is on. So the other 14 are on the United flight, or sorry, the other, whatever number it is. Yeah, 14 are on the United flight. So worst case scenario, we're just on the same flight as them getting out to Vancouver. But fingers crossed we get out on Saturday.
I thought you might say that you had to consider going to Seattle.
Yeah, so that was the other one. So the problem is, we actually thought about going to Seattle. So we used to live in the Pacific Northwest. We're in New York right now. But when we lived in the Pacific Northwest, obviously we have a lot of friends who are still there. And we were making plans to have some of them come up to Vancouver to see us before the cruise. But we talked about, well, maybe we could just fly into Seattle and then take the train up. Mm-hmm. But even that, it just felt like a lot of extra travel with the 8-month-old. So we were just like, we should just fly straight to Vancouver. So in theory, we could do that. But I'll also say there we have our WhatsApp group for the cruise. And from what I've seen, like the train is booked. I think there are no Amtrak tickets left. I think people are like booking buses from Seattle. So it's a little tricky right now.
Yeah, right. Because the whole ship is in this situation.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm sure that a lot of people booked Air Canada because that's where the most flights are going in. So yeah, I think people are a little bit nervous. But again, hopefully with the strike being theoretically canceled as of this morning, then everything will be all set in time for our cruise. But they said it'll take 7 to 10 days for things to normalize. So again, I feel good that we at least got our backup flight.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully everyone is able to get on okay. We'll see.
Right, because it's not just you, it's your group and everybody on the ship. So anyway, okay. So let's do best case scenario and hope that it works out because Saturday, August 23rd is when you hope to fly from New York City to Vancouver. And where are you staying?
Yeah. So we are staying at the Fairmont Waterfront. It's one of the hotels that's very close to the terminal, but obviously we'll still have to get our bags. I think it's like across the street.
It's across the street.
So yeah. So the plan is, we got 8:20 flight on Saturday morning. We land in Vancouver at 11:30 and then check in at 3 p.m. on Saturday. So we'll be right there in downtown Vancouver.
And is this your 8-month-old's first time to fly?
It is not actually. So with my daughter, we did a ton of like bi-coastal travel because we've got a lot of family in the New York area. So she went on a lot of flights and I think that just got us used to the idea of doing the early flying. So he's been down to Florida a couple times, out to California also. He's pretty good at it. But that being said, it's been a few months since he flew and he is very mobile now. So we are definitely he's going to want to try to walk everywhere. He's going to want to climb everything. And hopefully we have sufficient toys to keep him distracted. But yeah, this one will be more of an adventure, I would say, than the previous flights that he's taken.
Sometimes with kids that age, it's about how their ears handle it, but you already know.
Yeah, although I mean, I think our daughter, again, I kind of feel like for the first 6 months, it's he just seemed fine. But I think we're into the range where like he's a little bit more aware now, and I think he'll know if something's bothering him more. So we'll do. I mean, I think the strategy is like you give him a bottle at takeoff and landing. You try to give him the pacifier, and I think hopefully we'll be able to figure it out. But yeah, it's possible he completely melts down. But we're prepared for that to happen kind of throughout the trip. We'll see.
Yeah, hopefully not, though. Okay, so you'll check into the Fairmont, which is right across the street from the port. Do you have plans on this day?
Not really. I mean, we have a dinner reservation at Tap and Barrel, which is in like the convention center area, just because. So the friends that we're meeting, it's 2 separate couples with 1 baby and then also a fairly large dog. So we're going to have to like figure out where we can go with everybody. But that was the place that had the dog-friendly patio that my wife found. But I think we're going to keep it pretty loose and we may or may not use that reservation.
Okay. And the next day, Sunday, August 24th. It's planned.
Yeah. So, and again, so we've been to Vancouver before with our daughter, but obviously not with our son. And I think we'll probably end up going to Granville Island or like doing some of the like kid-friendly activities, but we're keeping it very loose, I would say, for these days, like really trying to just visit friends, explore the city a little bit. The weather, at least right now, looks like it's going to be fantastic. So I think we'll be able to just kind of wander around, go to the park, do whatever it is that we have to see. But yeah, I think it's mainly just going to be kind of relaxing and wandering on the water.
It's such a beautiful place.
Yeah. And it's going to be nice. I mean, again, we were around Seattle when we were out there, and the Pacific Northwest is very beautiful. And this time of year, especially July and August are like pretty fantastic there. So we're excited to just be able to be in that environment again.
So then that takes us to Monday, August 25th, which is when your actual cruise begins.
Yes, that's right. So this is going to be, I think, a theme of our planning versus the family's planning, right? Where I think I obviously listen to your podcast. I try to stay on top of this stuff, make all the plans for stuff, but we've got 5 different family units here, all with different levels of planning. So this one in particular for the pre-boarding, I was up at midnight. I did and again, this is our first Disney cruise, so 30 days out. I booked the Royal Gathering. I booked our departure, and I think everybody else kind of did it at some point. So we have our port arrival time at 12:30, which is boarding group 15. I think that a lot of the other folks in our group have their port arrival time closer to 3. So we'll probably just end up going over there together with everybody else. I've heard that we can wait and just board with the rest of our group, which is hopefully the case. And then, yeah, we'll get on when we get on. But yeah, I'm not making any big plans to do a ton of ship exploring before the muster drill.
There is such a big difference between 12:30 and 3 o'clock.
Yes.
As long as everybody ends up on the boat. I think maybe the only advantage to 12:30 would be like if there's anything that you needed to change.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. And so I think there are a couple things that I was like thinking about for guest services, not like a ton. So I will say as part of this grandparents organizing, so they have a travel agent that they use for our Disney World trip that they are also using for this cruise. And we let the travel agent know that we're celebrating the anniversary. We also have a birthday on Wednesday on the trip. So I'll probably want to like just double check that they actually have those like down as celebrations like in there. But I think otherwise there's not a ton that we want to change. Again, I think I was pretty lucky to get the stuff that we wanted. And our travel agent got us the early dining, which is what is I mean, again, all the young kids coming from the East Coast, we're pretty much going to need early dining on this trip. So I think we're pretty good. But yeah, the one outstanding thing that I feel like I have is that we have a long excursion in Skagway that there's no like meal that's a part of it. So I did want to make sure that we could purchase lunch for that. And I don't know if I need to like do that at guest services, but yeah, otherwise not a ton.
I don't know when they open, but there is a port excursions desk on the ship that might be able to help you with that part of it. But your plan in general is to just board with the group.
Yeah, that's our plan. Yeah.
Okay. And then once you get on the ship, Then
Yeah,
what? I guess muster drill by the time you
yeah, I think so. We'll see. I mean, we may not be like the last ones on, but yeah, I think I'm anticipating that we're not going to have a ton of time before the muster drill. We're also, I mean, I think I can talk about traveling with the baby in general. We're going to make sure we have a lot of snacks in our carry-ons so that we can just like keep the kids sort of going through whatever the boarding process looks like for us. And then once we get on, if we have the ability to like grab a quick snack or something, explore the ship, maybe we'll try to do that. But yeah, we're probably just going to kind of head to the muster drill.
Yeah. What do you think you're due after that?
Yeah. So I think this is where we get into the like question of like how much energy are the kids going to have after 24 to 48 hours in Vancouver. So ideally I'd like to kind of keep them up and around. Definitely. So outside of our son, it's 6 kids between the ages of 3 and 9. So I have a feeling they're going to be spending a lot of time at the kids clubs. So I think just going to that open house is probably like the first place that I would try to just like get them to get their energy level up. And then we'll kind of see what happens there. But yeah, I mean, in terms of whether they'll like, I mean, it's going to be kind of getting energy out until dinner time. And then whenever the room is ready to check in, we'll want to kind of get ourselves unpacked. But yeah.
Speaking of kids clubs, did you book Nursery for your infant?
We did not do any pre-booking. So this is, again, one of those things where I think we're trying to figure it out. Like the adult activities, like we didn't book Palo on any nights. We've thought about the idea of like maybe we would take him to the nursery for the shows, but we have no idea how our daughter is going to do either. And like she really wants to go if she can. So I think we're planning to kind of play it by ear. And my kind of worst case scenario is I'll just put him in the carrier and sort of bounce him around a little bit. He loves watching everything around him. So we may try to take him into the shows as well and see how he does there. But flexibility, I think, is kind of the name of the game for him. So I think we're expecting to use the nursery to some extent. We decided not to pre-book it because we just don't know what these days are going to look like. So we're going to hope that we can play it by ear and see how it goes. We'll see.
Yeah, I understand that too. Okay, so early dining every night, obviously. And then I don't know what the schedule is like for this particular cruise. Is there a show that night?
Yeah, so in theory, and again, I'm going off of one of the trip reports that I found online, or I'm sorry, I'm forgetting what it's called, but like the thing that they get in the concierge of like the list of activities.
Yeah, the schedule.
Yeah, so off based on an earlier schedule, they have the Sail Away party at 7:45 that night. So
that is so interesting.
Yeah, so if it's a nighttime Sail Away party, we would try to do that, but I don't know if that's like something was shifted on that schedule. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work.
Okay. I've never done a nighttime sail away.
I'll let you know if that's actually what happens, because they did end up shifting a few things around. I think they actually, on that cruise, I think they had moved the Freezing the Night Away party to the last day at sea because there was something like weather-wise where they weren't going to be able to do it on the deck on Glacier Day. So they may have rearranged some of these schedules, and I'm not sure.
So no stage show on this night?
Yeah, no stage show.
Okay, that takes us to Tuesday, August 26th.
Yep. So Tuesday, I mean, again, it's going to be our first time doing a cruise. I think the way that it's going to work for most of the days is that like the kids are probably going to wake up early. We're going to wake up early. We'll be taking advantage of room service in the morning and probably getting like the earliest possible drop off of just coffee and some snacks for the kids. And then I would assume that we'll end up going to Cabanas for breakfast with everybody once it's open. And then the kids go into the kids clubs, maybe going to see a movie.
Wait, is this a day at sea?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So Tuesday. Yeah. So Monday, August 25th is Disembarkation Day. Tuesday, August 26th is at sea. So we're going to be basically heading up. And in terms of like actual formal activities, like during that day, we don't have, I should say, we booked an afternoon Royal Court Royal Tea just for my 4-year-old daughter and my wife. So they're going to go to that in the afternoon. And then we have at least one of the cousins, one of the other, we've got like the girls kind of clustered in that age range of 3 and 4. So at least one of them is going to be at that Royal Tea. The other family may want to try to move their booking because I think they have it on day 7. So they're going to probably try to move their booking to day 2 also. But either way, that's the only real thing that we have booked that day. And then otherwise, yeah, we're going to be exploring the ship.
Did you have any trouble booking that since this is your first cruise?
Yeah, so that's I would say I was pleasantly surprised. One of the conversations I had going into all of the excursion bookings is we might need to end up doing some private excursions just because of how big our group is, and like we can make it worth our while to book the private excursion on some of these, but I was worried about a lot of spots being filled. And surprisingly, to me at least, like everything was open. And again, that was one where I think I actually did motivate everyone to log in at midnight and book stuff at midnight on the day that it was open for us. But you'll see as we go through day by day, we actually did get the activities that we were all hoping to do. And I don't think anyone really had trouble booking. So we actually, when I booked Royal Court, Royal Tea, we got 2 slots. We were able to book it on day 2 and day 7. And then that was like one of the cousins got it on day 2, the other got it on day 7. And we just kept the day 2 one just to kind of, start the trip that way.
Okay. I was just remembering a previous trip report with a group for Alaska too. It was 310. And I remember them having a lot of discussions about the excursions and how they could book a private one because they had enough people and all that kind of stuff. So some interesting logistics when you have groups.
Yeah, and I even emailed, because there is an email address that they have for the private excursions on some of these, and they actually have made it bookable in the app now, so it's actually not that hard to do. But my thought process was like the private ones are probably not going to book up like super early, so we can always have that as a backup. And then we ended up not really needing to do it because we got all of the specific activities that we were looking for.
Okay. So the stay at sea is on the boat. So you're doing breakfast on the boat, you kids clubs, royalty in the afternoon. Anything else that you think you'll be doing?
Yeah, I think for this day, again, this is one of those questions of like, at some point, it might be nice to have some adult time. And I think some of us will kind of like do our own thing a little bit. But I think a lot of it is going to end up being exploring. And then this is the question of, do we drop our son off at the nursery and just kind of have some time on our own to explore like the lounges or something? Again, haven't really set that in stone in terms of whether we're going to do it, because I think it's also, he's going to enjoy kind of exploring a little bit. And if there are open house hours at the kids club, I think he would also enjoy like playing with his cousins there. So we'll see. It'll probably be a little bit of a mix, but I will say like the one thing that I made sure that I got for myself before the cruise was the mug, like the beer mug. So I will want to like kind of explore the lounges at some point during the day and just kind of try it out for a test drive. But otherwise, no major plans.
Yeah, we are big fans of getting the mugs. They have great beer on top. Okay, so Wednesday, August 27th, you said this day is the birthday for somebody in the group.
Yeah. So that's just going to be, I think as part of our normal dinner, I think we just let the server know. So again, one of my sister-in-laws, her birthday. So we'll be celebrating at dinner, but I think otherwise nothing major for her, I would say.
Is this I think, a port day or a day at sea?
So this is Glacier Day. So from what I can tell, I think we're going to Tracy Arm. And I don't know, somebody shared on our cruise Facebook group kind of like the list of boats and what times they would be there. So it seems like they're going to be there in the afternoon, or that our boat is going to get to the glacier in the afternoon. And then we'll kind of like head back, maybe even as late as 8 o'clock or something like that. I think the window was like 3 p.m. to 8 p.m.
So is your plan to view the glacier from the ship, or did you book the excursion for it?
So this is, I would say, the one thing that we did not get is that by the time the booking was available, we could not do the Glacier Explorer. I think a few folks in our party were thinking they might want to like keep on checking the app to see if anything opened up. But we were also thinking, again, with the baby, like we can just stay on the ship, we can look at stuff. And I should say, I didn't actually say this at the start. We all have veranda rooms. So that was part of the like making this a special occasion. So I think worst case scenario, we can go down to our room and just look out the veranda at the glacier if it gets too cold on the deck. So
yeah. So in my opinion, the special excursion is very optional because you can see it from the ship. We did it, but we had 2 people in our group that were really into photography. So getting up close just meant a little bit better pictures, but you certainly get to see it, especially. So we had blankets on the veranda. We had wine and charcuterie delivered to the room with room service. Really easy and beautiful.
Yeah, no, that sounds very nice. Yeah, so I think we'll enjoy ourselves on the ship.
Mhm.
And this is also, I should say, this day we had originally booked Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique for our daughter. And in case it wasn't obvious from the activities that we booked for her so far, like she's very into the princesses right now. So we think it would be like a fun thing for her. But we decided just for this trip, it wasn't necessarily required. We'll probably end up doing it with other grandparents in Disney World like next year. So she'll get her fix, but I think she's just going to bring her Anna and Elsa dresses on the cruise and just wear them, because that's also the Freezing the Night Away party is that night. And I should say also, at least based on my understanding, the Golden Mickeys are going to be on the At Sea Day, the day before, on day 2. So I think we're going to try to get the kids to those shows as much as possible if we can. But
Okay. So on this particular day, you're going to do glacier viewing from the ship, and it's the frozen night that night. Are you guys, other than your daughter wearing a dress, are you guys participating in the theme?
yeah, we'll see we'll see what she can convince us to do. I think that I think we'll bring some nicer clothes, but we're not necessarily going to be fully decked out. Yeah, we'll see. I think there's a few theming things that might get pulled in, but it's mainly just, yeah, she's going to really want to be dressed up. And the big thing that I need to figure out is, can we get something for my son to have him like properly attired for this as well? So still a couple last minute things we got to look for.
Yeah. I find that these Alaskan cruises feel a little bit more lax. Like the formal's a little less formal, or it's just different vibe.
Yeah. Well, we've done a lot of like clothing shopping, but it's mainly just making sure that we have the proper layers for everything. So
It's the layers.
yeah.
It's really something to figure out.
Yeah. And again, like we lived in not that far north, but in that general area before. And I think we got good at kind of like making sure we had the right like t-shirt into sweatshirt into jacket situation. But well, I don't know. I had to get a whole new wardrobe of hiking pants for this trip. It's not a trivial thing. So
It's not. I found it very difficult to pack for it, especially having been on other Disney cruises that are not in Alaska.
yes. Yeah.
Those are a little bit easier. Okay. So what is Thursday, August 28th?
Yeah. So Thursday, August 28th is Skagway. So this is where we get into the excursion days and the hopefully not overly ambitious different excursions that we planned. So we have guests ashore on Thursday at 7:15. Then we have our excursion booked at 11:15. So we've got about 4 hours where we can potentially explore a little bit on shore, although I think it's going to be such a long day that we'll probably want to like gear up a little bit, just get ourselves kind of situated and settled in the ship first. And we probably won't end up exploring that much of Skagway itself.
What is your excursion at 11:15?
Yes. So at 11:15, we have Gold Fever, Alaskan Sled Dogs, and Exclusive Scenic Railway. This is SW65, like on the website. And so we did this in both Skagway and Juneau. We're trying to do as much as possible. And so of the Alaskan things, I feel like we have our bin of panning for gold, dog sleds, whale watching, some other kinds of activities, but we're trying to do a lot of that in one day. So this one is gold panning, the dog sled demonstration, and then the Skagway White Pass Railroad. So we'll do all 3 of those as a single activity.
And all 16 people.
All 16 people. So this is where we get to the maybe surprising piece. I mean, I was wondering if it was just because this is like a bigger excursion and more activities that like they didn't book up as much because people were trying to do more like one-offs, choose the exact activity they wanted. The other thing is this is way more on the like family friendly side and less on like we're not doing the adventure stuff, right? We're not going kayaking. We're not doing any like airplane or helicopter rides. We're not doing like big hikes. So maybe because it was more of a family friendly thing, it was less popular. But yeah, I was a little bit surprised that for this and then also for the Juneau day that we were able to get all of us booked on this.
That's great, though.
Yeah, no, it worked out really well.
How long does that last? Because that's several different activities.
Yeah, it's 6 to 6.5 hours. So it's going to be an all day type of thing. And again, like we've got the early dining at 5:45. So I think this is going to take us basically right up until dinner time. They don't say exactly what the order is going to be. So I guess we'll kind of see if we end on the train ride or if we end on one of the other pieces. But yeah, we're just going to be gone for the whole day. And this was the day where I was like, we better make sure that we have lunch booked because otherwise, we're going to have a lot of meltdowns for the kids. So yeah, we'll see how we do.
Yeah. That would be good to know for 6 hours. Like, are we going to get a meal in?
Yeah. So they have it as optional. Like you can add a lunch for whatever it is. I think it's 25 a person, but it's not necessarily built in. And like none of these activities, like they have snacks, right? But it doesn't really sound like it's going to be a ton of food that they provide. Now, that being said, like we probably will try to eat. I mean, I don't know how feasible it's going to be because I think that's like the dead zone where Cabanas isn't actually open, but we'll usually try to eat like a lunch on the earlier side. So maybe we go into Skagway, grab a bite, and then meet. I don't know if that's going to be feasible, but yeah, I think ultimately we're gonna need to just get lunch on the road basically, and make sure that they're providing it.
Yeah, there's a lot of logistics there to consider. I get that. So when that ends, then early dining, and then is there anything that night?
Yeah, so they're going to have some sort of a show. I feel like it's either magic show or whatever other performance, but I don't know what it's going to be. I think my understanding is that that's not one of like the big Disney shows, not one of the 3 main Disney shows. So,
okay. Yeah, they tend to alternate on these longer cruises. So maybe it's optional depending on how you feel about magic.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know. It's all this kind of stuff. Like the kids enjoy all this stuff, and I think it's like a fun excuse for them to stay up late. So I think our daughter is definitely going to try to push it, and I think in a lot of ways our son is just kind of along for the ride. So he'll experience what he experiences. But you know, if one of us has to take him back to the room, I think that'll be fine. And again, like we can use the nursery. I've heard that it tends to book up more at night for shows and stuff, but I think last I checked, it seemed like there was still a lot of open spots. So I'm hoping that we can play it by ear a little bit during the nighttime.
I'm also wondering if fewer people bring infants on Alaskan cruises.
That's the other thing. I kind of feel like, I mean, there's definitely going to be a lot of kids. Again, based on the Facebook group, based on the WhatsApp group, there's going to be a lot. I think the kids club is going to be very full, but I don't know if I've seen many people post about having infants. So it's not the easiest trip to do with them, especially if you're trying to do a bunch of big adventures. So
no, but it might be easier to book nursery, and it might be easier to book these excursions that cater to little ones. So we'll see, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay, so then Friday, August 29th.
Yep. So right on from Skagway to Juneau, and another early port day. So we arrive at 6:45. And this time we have an earlier excursion. So it's 9:30 a.m. We're doing our excursion that day. So this time I think we'll just stay on the boat, and then we'll go directly to Best of Juneau, which is our excursion for that day, which is JU 46. So this is another one that, like, you know, again, maybe it's like a little bit more kid-oriented, but to me, this is just, I think anyone would do this because it has the whale watching, the Mendenhall Glacier, and then dining at Orca Point Lodge, which is, the pictures look amazing. It's like just kind of an outpost on an island across from Juneau that has like really beautiful water views and obviously different like salmon, steak, all that kind of stuff as well. So this one was, I was fully expecting us to have to do like a private whale watching tour in Juneau because I was expecting all the whale watching to be booked up. But this one was open for all of us. So that's what we're going to do.
That's amazing. How long is that excursion?
So another 6-hour day. So I feel it was funny because I feel like initially we were saying like, we've got the kids, like, even if everybody wants to do like more intensive days, like we'll just kind of choose one activity and we'll have that our focus, and everybody can do other stuff if they want to. And then everybody else in the group just kind of convinced us, like, no, let's just do the big thing. So yeah, it's 6.5 hours. This one does include lunch. So at the very least, we'll have a solid meal as part of it. And then I think the other thing with all these, I think Mendenhall Glacier, there's a walking trail and there's a little bit of exploring to do, but this is not going to be the most like intensive, like active stuff, right? I think we'll have really beautiful views, but I think we're going to do it in a pretty like low key kind of way where the kids will hopefully still have energy by the end of it. So, yeah.
I think it's totally doable. If I can do it, they'll be good.
Yeah.
So then again, obviously early dining, other plans on this day?
Yeah. So this is the day that my daughter really wants to stay awake. This is the Frozen musical night. And she is saying that, I mean, we live in New York. She's been talking about going to see a Broadway show now for a little while, and we're trying to basically make sure that she's ready for it. So this is theoretically kind of a dry run for sitting through a full musical, but it starts at 8:30. So hopefully she has the energy to kind of make it through. But she's been saying she's going to stay awake for it. So she's very excited for the Frozen show. And
That
we're
is
excited
so
also.
cute. It really is a mini Broadway show. And
Yeah.
I love that she's so into it.
Yeah. Interestingly, she knows that the options right now are Aladdin and Lion King, and she is dead set that she wants to see Aladdin. I don't know what it is that's her favorite, but she has noticed we've walked by the theater before and she's seen like the big picture of Jasmine and the big picture of the genie out front. So maybe that's been the drawing point. But yeah, she wants that to be her first Broadway show.
Oh, that's so cute. Okay. I hope she makes it.
Yeah.
To 8:30.
I think by then, hopefully. I mean, the problem is that we're on like the tail end of 2 days of like nonstop activities, but I do wonder also like just the kids club on the ship, if they're actually going to be doing better at the end of the excursions than they would be like just running around tackling each other for 6 hours on the boat. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Hypothetically, if you don't feel like you have time to do the whole dining thing, would you be disappointed? Would you consider room service or some other quick service option?
Oh, yeah. So I should say, like, in general for this trip and the way that we travel with the kids, we are very happy to be flexible overall. And we did try to do this in such a way that, like, we can eat together as much as possible. But when the 7 kids are together, eating together can become a little bit of a production and they can get rambunctious to say the least. So if we just need like the dining hall to basically be cut short, then yeah, we can pivot. And I think that we've been successful at doing that. And I think the nice thing is for Disney and for really any of these cruises, like there's going to be options. Like we can go to other places, we can get quick service. Like I think we'll find ways. But I would say in general, like the bigger meals that I'm kind of concerned about in terms of the timing is it's more like lunchtime, because I feel like it's that window seems like it's kind of like from 10 to 11-ish or 10:30 to 11:30. There's certain spots where things just aren't open. So I do have a feeling that we'll be doing a lot of quick service lunch dining kind of on the earlier side, because I'm pretty sure that Cabanas doesn't open until 11:30 or noon most days. And that's probably going to be a little bit late for our kids. So we'll probably go to Daisy's Delights or Pete's Boiler. We'll figure out exactly what it is, but I think we'll find other options there for lunchtime. But yeah, the other thing, because I was listening to a trip report recently where someone did the late dining with their kid and it sounded like it was a very long meal. So I did look at it seems like the dining before, like if you do the early dining, they usually do try to condense it and kind of like keep it shorter. So I'm hopeful that these don't turn into like marathon dinners, because that's where people just, and by people I mean the kids, just start losing it. So
yeah, and I think as someone who travels with groups on cruises quite a bit, although almost always adults, we've had to figure out ways to optimize the dining experience. So it's okay, get your ordering quickly, whatever it is, because it is a lot for the servers to have to manage so many people. But
yeah, for sure.
I think you'll figure it out. I feel like every trip report, people figure out their groove and their pattern or whatever. And I think the same is going to be true for this cruise.
Yeah. And that's sort of like, I mean, again, you can probably see, I don't have a really concrete plan for any of these days, because I kind of feel like we don't really know what to expect, right? We haven't done a Disney cruise before. We haven't done Alaska before. So my hope is that we can just kind of react in the moment appropriately and pivot as needed.
And this is where the learning and the planning comes in handy. It's not to set, and this is, I think I've said this before, but this is why I do the pre-trip and the post-trip, because I don't want them to match. But I do want your own research and your own knowledge to be able to allow you to pivot. So you've already said, if dining doesn't work, okay, maybe we'll go to Daisy Delights. Maybe we'll go here. Maybe you have options that you are aware of.
Yeah.
So that's good, because you just don't know how it's going to go.
Yeah, this is the hope. But yeah, it's going to be good.
You'll be fine. I think it's very overwhelming to go on a cruise the very first time, and you're doing it with a baby and a big group, and Alaska is its own thing. So there's a lot to consider.
Yeah, for sure.
But you'll get it. You'll get it.
Yeah.
Okay, Saturday, August 30th?
Yeah. So we did Skagway to Juneau and then straight to Ketchikan. So
Okay.
Ketchikan is our last port day. And this one is a later arrival. So it's 11:15 guests ashore. And then the other thing about this one, so I'm talking about all the different activities that people want to do. I think in Ketchikan, there's a lot of seaplanes and there's a lot of fishing. And our group is not one for the flying on small planes. So the fishing excursion was the thing that everybody latched onto. The problem with the fishing, for our family at least, is that everything is at the very least age 5 and up. So we are not going on any of those excursions. So the older cousins from a couple other families within our group, they're going to be going on some small ship fishing type trips. I don't even know exactly which excursions it is, but for us, we just did the Lumberjack show. So we did the exclusive Lumberjack show, the one that I think has Goofy in it or somebody. And that's KE41. And that is our one excursion for the day. So this is a little bit more of a low key, like we're going to be in Ketchikan. We'll hopefully get to explore a little bit because I've heard it's just nice to walk around. I think seeing all of the native art in that area will be very cool. And it sounds like there's some good like totem stuff like around Ketchikan itself. There's a lot of good like restaurants, breweries, all that kind of thing. So I think we'll explore a little bit. We'll go see the Lumberjack show. Hopefully it's not too loud for the baby. I've heard the chainsaws can be a little bit much. And then we'll hang out on the ship. So I think the plan is like after a lot of long days, Ketchikan will be a little bit more low key, a little bit more exploring, and a little bit less energy, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the city itself gives you plenty to do. So hopefully that will be enough. And then what about after you get back on the boat? Anything else?
Yeah. So this is, I will say, one of the things that I wanted to look into, and I don't know if this is going to be feasible, but some of the fishing charters, when they have these meals attached to it, you can bring in guests. So I did want to see if there was a way to do a fish dinner or maybe a fish lunch, whatever it ends up being for their excursion, but some sort of get together the whole group at the end and eat together. I don't know if that's going to work out, but either way, guests aboard is at 6:45. So I think, if we don't end up doing something like early dinner wise in Ketchikan, then we'll just have our early dining on the boat. And then it's another one of these magician, singer, whatever the special performer is that night. And we'll see if we do that. But yeah, I think we'll just hang out on the boat afterwards.
Okay. And then Sunday, August 31st, is that a day at sea?
Yes. So that's our last day at sea. So this is one where we did book a few things on the ship. And this is actually one where we may want to try to do a little bit of rearranging. So when we've done big family trips in the past, we have tried to prioritize like getting photo time. So we did book shutters on this day at 11 a.m. So they recommend for large groups to book 2 windows. We could only book 1. So we have 30 minutes at shutters, which may not be enough for our giant group. So I think we may need to like either adjust that or try to add another half hour. We'll see what we can do. But I'm guessing that we'll try to go to shutters at some point early on the trip to just kind of figure out how to optimize that. And then the other thing I should say is, so we did get Royal Gathering at 9:15 a.m. on Sunday. So we'll plan to do that in the morning. So in theory, the morning will be photos with the princesses, photos with the family, and then I think the afternoon will be kind of getting the last really big explore and have fun on the ship, essentially.
For the Royal Gathering, you booked it for your family. Did other people in your group book it?
So I don't think so. I think I'm pretty sure that we were the only ones that actually logged on at midnight
Which is so important for that.
30 days in advance. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am going to see, I've talked to people and I think they were talking about maybe trying to get it. They may try to see if they can get it added at guest services. I don't know if that's feasible at all. But yeah, that's one of the ones where I kind of feel like it's our planning approach versus their planning approach. And it kind of, that's how it worked out and it'll be fine. But yeah, I think it's probably just going to be us.
Yeah. I just think in groups, that's always a tricky thing because it's like maybe you get it and other people don't, or vice versa. It could be anything. But Royal Gathering is so competitive.
I know. Yeah. And that's also something I think we're going to have to navigate like with the cousins, because just making sure that they're okay. I mean, I do think that there's going to be enough photo opportunities throughout the whole
Mhm.
trip that it's not going to be a huge loss. It's just based on what I see of the Royal Gathering, or like what I understand of it, it's not like it's easy to avoid, right? Like they're just kind of doing it in the middle of the ship. So if we get to go and the other kids don't get to go, that there may be some drama. So we'll see. Hopefully no tears, but we'll find out.
When you're in line, you will see other families wondering how they can get in line and being told that they don't have a reservation. And that's always difficult too.
Yeah.
So, but it's just one of those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on this last day, full day?
No, I mean, again, I think the goal is just going to be make sure that we get all of the ship time in that we want to. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, because I think the weather's going to be nice by Alaska standards. I don't know if it's really going to be warm enough for us to swim, but it may be a situation where kids want to go to the pool and the water slide. They may want to do some more exploring on the deck. And I think they'll probably want to run around the kids club. So this is one of those ones where and I thought about this of, should we book like a Palo brunch or something like that just for my wife and I, and drop our son off at the nursery, have the kids do their thing. And maybe we try to do that on one of these days, but
Mhm.
I don't know if that's really going to be like that's probably not going to be the plan. I think we're going to be pretty kid oriented for a lot of this stuff. So yeah, we'll see what we do.
I forgot to ask on the Glacier Day, will you be trying for any of those competitive character?
Yeah, that's one where it's going to be interesting to see, again, like you said, of do we actually get in line and really push for it? My general feeling is that we are not going to prioritize that, just from the perspective of, I mean, one of us can stand in line, but with the baby especially, we're not going to want to be just like out at the deck, like hanging out. Our daughter is like not great with lines. I don't know if any 4-year-old is great with lines, but yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm kind of feeling like this is maybe not the most traditional type of type of trip report, where people are like being really ambitious in their plans and trying to like get in line early and all these things. I think we're going to be a little bit more low key and trying to adapt to the larger group overall. So we're trying to table a little bit of the more, what's the word, like proactive instincts, I feel like, on some of these things.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's different ways to do trips. So, you adjust according to your needs. But I just know that's a big part of the Alaskan cruises. So I wasn't sure if you were going to try for it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. I think we'll have the conversation. It's funny because the things that my daughter is excited about in terms of character visits, like she does not know anything about Marvel, but she has 2 friends at daycare who are like very into the Marvel superheroes. So she's like recently discovered like who Spider-Man and Captain America are. And so if Spider-Man is on the cruise, she's going to be very excited to see Spider-Man, even though she doesn't really know anything about it. So it's going to, I feel like we're going to have some interesting encounters with which characters she most wants to see and which ones she most wants to take a picture with. So, and yeah, our son could very much go either way. Like, I think he's going to enjoy looking at the characters from a distance, but I don't know how he's going to do in terms of actually interacting with them up close.
It's
So
a really
that, yeah.
strange thing that we subject kids to. Yeah, this is totally normal stuff, just
Yeah.
meeting adult-sized Mickey Mouse.
Well, it's funny because like when she's been to Disney World twice, our daughter. The first time when we did it with the big family trip, we saw Disney. We did a character dining with Mickey and Minnie and Goofy, and she loved looking at them from 10 feet away. But then anytime they got closer, she like freaked out. But then we went back with her less than a year later, and we did Crystal Palace, and she like loved eating with Winnie the Pooh. And then her question for us for this cruise is, will Winnie the Pooh and his friends be at the cruise? Because she still remembers that and loved
Aw.
meeting Winnie the Pooh. So it's funny, like just the difference in age and what happens there. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think Winnie the Pooh is on the Alaska cruise. So we'll have to be okay with seeing Spider-Man instead.
Lots for the characters. Yeah, I bet she'll enjoy that. So I guess the only day we have left is Monday, September 1st, which is disembarkation or debarkation, depending on which word you
Yep.
prefer. What's the plan?
Yeah, so we are flying out that afternoon. So we have arranged, so everybody is on the same flight going back to Newark. So we are going to do private transport, not through Disney, but just from the port to the airport. It'll be like I don't know actually what the approach is going to be, whether we actually try to keep all of our luggage with us and just walk off, or if we actually pack it up the night before. I do feel like, at least for our room, we've gotten decent at traveling with everything. So I think we could potentially just keep all of our bags and go straight. But yeah, we'll see exactly what we end up doing with the whole group. But yeah, we'll pack up the night before. I should say the other thing with all this is we have diapers, we have breast milk and formula. We've got a lot of moving parts here just for the packing and whatnot. So I think we've got our technique down well, but it's going to be interesting to see like how that actually evolves. Like we got like a Disney size cooler, like the 12 by 12 by 12 one, so that we can bring on frozen breast milk, but then we don't have anywhere to store it. We're just going to put it in the mini fridge and see how long it stays frozen, essentially. And we'll just kind of like see how that goes. And then I guess ask for a ton of ice throughout the week. And then we'll have our like mini travel stroller and whatnot. But yeah, I think hopefully we'll be able to just carry everything off the boat so that we can just kind of get out of there and get ourselves settled. But our flight is at 3 p.m. that day. So there's not going to be a ton in Vancouver. It's probably just going to be kind of trying to get ourselves situated and getting off the boat.
Yeah. And then the flight home, you're going to be exhausted.
Yes.
And it's going to be the best, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I was saying, like, I think before you started recording, I think very high highs, probably low lows also, but hopefully not too low. I think it's going to be a really big, exciting trip and a lot of stimulation and excitement all around. And I mean, again, I think this is a situation where we're being pretty kid forward on all this kind of stuff. Like, I think, especially like for the grandparents, a lot of their enjoyment of these types of activities is just based on, are the grandkids having fun? So I think that's going to be the theme, is like making sure that there's a lot of special Disney magic throughout. And I think that we're going to have a lot of opportunities for that.
Yeah, and I'm really curious how, because you guys do group trips sometimes, I'm really curious your overall feeling just about cruising, because it does tend to work very well for groups, and I wonder if you will do more.
My wife is already convinced that we're going to love this, and this is going to be like the new way that we travel with larger groups, that it like, because it just seems so much easier that there are like activities going on. You don't have to do all the activities, but if you need to split up, you can, and you can reconvene, and you get on each other's nerves a little bit less that way, I think. So
yeah, I really think it works well for a lot of groups. So I'm curious to see how it goes. All right. Well, have the best time. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for the whole airline situation. And hopefully that will go well. And then I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks when you get back.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Welcome back from your trip, Nathan.
Yeah. Thank you. Good to be back.
It's Wednesday, September 3rd. You haven't been back for long.
I know. Yeah. A little bit jet lagged, but not so bad. Hopefully I'll have energy for this trip report. But yeah.
Yeah. There's a fine line between talking to people when it's fresh and also talking to people when they're still exhausted.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I got my notes. I got my water. I'm good to go.
All right. Let's start talking through it, because at the very beginning, we had some doubts about how it was going to start. Saturday, August 23rd, you were flying, hopefully, from New York City to Vancouver and landing at 11:30.
Yeah, that's right. And thankfully, Air Canada, I think, resolved all their disputes. So our flight was scheduled on time. We had no issues. We did get an email maybe 2 days before saying, if you want to change your flights, you can change them. But obviously making the cruise, that wasn't really an option. So we went for it, and I think it worked out well. So just, I think, some background. And I should also say a couple things in my kind of pre-trip report, even before we got going, I was off on. So I think I had talked about the fact that this was a big family trip. The grandparents had helped organize it and put it together, but we were all kind of planning to pay our own way. And after the call that we had, like, I think maybe the day after, they basically told all of us, like, listen, this is a big deal for all of you to come. We want you to know that we want to handle all the incidentals for this. We already, and they actually did this without us realizing, they put down their card through their travel agent on all the rooms. So this was huge, very generous of them. And I think obviously we're very lucky in many ways, not just that they can pay for it, but also that everyone who was joining could pay for it. But I think in a lot of ways it worked out nicely that we all kind of planned it as if we were going to do it ourselves. And then this was a very generous gift of them for that. So that's one difference.
That is very nice. Does the incidentals include the excursions that were booked through Disney?
Yeah, so they actually put and again, because they kind of had the booking through their travel agent, they were able to kind of put everything on their card related to all the rooms. So they had kind of done this without us realizing. And obviously we did enter our credit card information on the like check-in, but I guess they had also added all of us as authorized users. And I don't know if they did this at guest services or like working with a travel agent somehow, but they actually managed to get everything onto their card. So yeah, it's very kind of them.
That's incredible.
Yeah, no. So yeah, very, very generous. And yeah, we were all very, very thankful. Again, I think we were all planning to kind of do this ourselves. But so that's one difference between the pre-trip report. The other thing is I realized I actually gave the wrong hotel because there's apparently multiple Fairmonts right there. So we were staying not at the Fairmont waterfront in Vancouver. We were staying at the Fairmont Pacific Pacific Rim, which I will get to when we get to Vancouver. But
did you see the Fairmont waterfront when you boarded the ship?
We did. I mean, it's right across the street,
right?
Right
Across the street.
Yeah. And we were in that area. I mean, I'll talk through like the Vancouver time, but yeah, we were in that area quite a bit and walked by it a lot. So yeah, all very nice. Okay, so I think I'll start. I guess, I mean, Friday night, we finished all of our packing. I think I mentioned on the pre-trip report. So we packed in 2 checked bags. We had 2 carry-on suitcases, a small duffel bag, the cooler bag for the breast milk, and then 2 backpacks and the 2 strollers. So we do not travel light in general, but it felt kind of manageable. And the goal for this trip was to not do laundry, to just pack as many outfits as we needed. So we did successfully do that.
Pretty impressive considering the layers that are required for a trip like this.
Well, that I'll get to that piece also. I think if we had used the layers more, then it might have been a different story in terms of using laundry. But yeah, we managed to get through. And then the 2 strollers for our son, we have this. We borrowed a Duna, which is like an all-in-one car seat and stroller. So we were able to kind of get him in and out of the cars easily. And then our daughter, she's not really big enough for a booster seat, but she can use what's called like a life vest, which is essentially like a vest that she wears that she can strap into a seatbelt. So anytime that we need to take a taxi or be in a car for whatever reason, she could put on her vest and then ride with a normal seatbelt. So that's how we kind of got around. And then her stroller was very compactable, one of those umbrella travel strollers. So we got all that together mostly on Friday night. And then Saturday, we woke up at 4 a.m., packed up all of the frozen milk in the cooler bags, closed our bags, and we live in New York City, so we just do Uber for all of our airport travel. When we have bags, we need to order an Uber XXL because for the 4 people and all the bags, it's just too much space. So we got a minivan. So we were up at 4. We ordered the Uber XXL at 4:40, and it was there at 4:45. So that's the other benefit of being in the city is you don't really have to wait very long. So we were really, I think, pretty efficient getting out. It took us about 45 minutes to get to Newark, and we got there. Yeah, so we got there at 5:30, and there was no line. We checked our bag. It was like an incredibly easy check-in process, and we were through security by 6 a.m. So really smooth overall. Our flight wasn't until 8:20, so we had a lot of time to get breakfast. We actually went to 2 playgrounds within Newark Airport. I will say it was a good travel experience with kids. So there's one like smaller playground, and this is all in Terminal A, the international flights, but one small playground across from gate A6, which we were at for a little bit. And then we went to a bigger playground by gate A19 because I looked at it on TikTok and saw all the options. So we ate bagels. We watched the kids play, and that lasted basically an hour and a half. And then we boarded the plane, flew from Newark at 8:20, and landed in Vancouver at 11:30. So
how did everybody do on such a long flight?
Everyone did fine. Our daughter mainly just watched either like the in-screen movies or her tablet. I'll talk about this. We don't do a lot of screen time at home for her. She's 4. So any opportunity to watch movies is a big treat. And she very much enjoyed that on the ship also. But yeah, so she was pretty good. And then our son, who's 9 months old, he was a little bit more of a handful, but we have like this carrier that we use for our daughter also that I'm the designated carrier wearer for the most part, which will also come into play when we get onto the cruise. But I basically just wore him around the plane. He actually napped like pretty in line with his normal naps. And the nice thing about the 3-hour time difference is like his schedule is basically the same, but shifted a little bit. So he napped twice on the plane. I actually have it. So we napped like as soon as we got onto the plane for about an hour, and then he napped again at 11 Eastern time in the carrier, like on the plane. And then basically as soon as we got off the airplane, he fell back asleep again once we put him into the stroller. So he did pretty well.
Yeah. How was the process in Vancouver, like the airport and all that?
Yeah, it was pretty easy. So they actually had a family line in passport control, which was very nice. So it was actually really fast getting through passport control. I mean, we landed at 11, which was a little bit early, and then we had picked up our bags by 11:30, and we're in a cab by 11:45. So super smooth. I have no complaints for this flight. It was incredibly easy.
Really convenient. And did you at what point did you realize that you were staying at a different Fairmont?
Well, so of course my wife had the right one written down. I just assumed I had written down Fairmont, and for whatever reason I had flagged the one that was closest to the port. But I mean the other one's like literally 2 blocks away, so it's not like they're very far. But yeah, so she navigated to the right place.
So you took an Uber?
Yeah, took a cab. We generally speaking take the taxi from the airport. It tends to be easier rather than waiting for an Uber. And that was actually some of the advice. We had a very active WhatsApp group for this cruise. So I'll say like for the cruise, we joined the Facebook group, and then someone within the Facebook group started a WhatsApp from there. And within the WhatsApp, a lot of people had commented that within Vancouver, it's always easier to do a cab and usually a lot cheaper to do a cab than an Uber from the airport. So we did that. We're used to doing that in New York because it's kind of similar. So
you had a WhatsApp group that was related to your Facebook group. Did you also have a WhatsApp group related to your travel party?
So the two things that work on the cruise that I'm aware of are WhatsApp and iMessage. So our travel party had the iMessage.
Okay.
So that was our main mode of communication throughout. We did not use the in Disney app chat.
No, and no one should. It's so complicated. It would have taken you 6 hours to add everyone to a chat.
Yeah, I will say, a preview of being on the boat, but it is good to check the notifications in the app because I did miss one that would have been helpful, but I digress.
Yeah, it's a helpful app, just not for chat.
Yeah. Okay, so we got into the hotel at 12:30. The room was already ready, so we checked in. We kind of settled ourselves, got our bags. We didn't fully unpack when we were in Vancouver because we were only there for a couple nights, but just got ourselves like a little bit settled in. It's a very, very nice space. I would say like a lot of the themes for this, and again, like when we were planning it, we were really planning to just do what everybody else did. This is probably not how we would have traveled if it were just us, but we wanted to be with family. So, for instance, like we just had a single room with 2 queen beds. They had a nice setup for the kids. They brought in a crib and a diaper pail and like kids body wash also for bath time, which was very nice. But usually if we're spending a lot in a hotel, we would want to get at least one bedroom, like some door to close. There were no doors to close. And also, I don't know what it is. There's some nicer fancy hotels that like the idea of having like clear glass in the bathroom doors. So it was impossible to like be anywhere with the lights on because it was just bright in the whole room. So we survived pretty well. But
I don't appreciate this trend. I don't get it.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some like design style that it comes from, but yeah, it wasn't the most convenient with a sleeping baby and a sleeping toddler. So we got in at 12:30, checked in and resettled. And then, so in Vancouver, we were meeting up with 2 groups of friends, or I guess 2 couples that we knew from our time in the Pacific Northwest. So one of those couples was flying up from Portland with their son, and the other couple had driven up from Seattle. So I think the couple from Portland arrived like right after us at the airport, but they were staying at a different hotel, so we didn't really coordinate getting out of there. So we met up with the friends who had the dog, took a walk along the seawall. We were all kind of in like the downtown Cole Harbor area. So walked on the seawall, found a playground that was like a little bit questionable. It's like up a little bit from the seawall. It's next to, I think, a school that's been under construction for 3 or 4 years at this point or something like that. But it was a place for the kids to hang out. I ran out and grabbed some food from Urban Fair Market down the street, which was fine, but just kind of like took a while to get. And we just kind of sat, had a little bit of food, and got a little bit resettled. So that took us until about 3 p.m. when our friends who had come up from Portland had checked into their hotel. So we went back to their hotel. And then when we had been walking on the seawall, we had seen that there was a little splash pad area. So all the kids decided they wanted to play in the water. So we changed them into their swimsuits and then played on the splash pad for about an hour. We did a lot of running around there. And then there was a little grassy area next to that where the kids just kicked a soccer ball around. They had a nice time. And it was very sweet because our daughter, we FaceTimed with them, but our daughter has never actually met our friend's son in person. But they were like immediately very simpatico and having a lot of fun together. So it was very, very fun to see that dynamic. So yeah, we played around. I think I mentioned my wife had made a reservation at a restaurant just on the waterfront there, and we weren't sure we were going to use it, but we were all doing well and decided to actually do our dinner. So we went to Tap and Barrel just in Cole Harbor, like right there. I think there are a few Tap and Barrels like throughout Vancouver, but this was one that was just like really convenient, and they did accept dogs on the patio. I think I don't know if this was like intentionally or just by happenstance, like the dog kind of like sat a little bit outside of the actual dining area, but it's on this big patio. It's where the Olympic cauldron is. So there's a lot of just general foot traffic around there. And they also, I guess I didn't even realize this, like the World Cup is going to be in Vancouver this year. I don't even know when it is, but the World Cup trophy was in Vancouver and they were having like a viewing in that plaza. So there was a lot of just kind of general activity around that day. And I should say also, like the weather, and this is like consistent throughout the trip, the weather was gorgeous. It was sunny. High was in the 80s. Like it was a perfect day. So yeah, good time to go like into the splash pad and just be outside in general. So yeah, dinner at Tap and Barrel, everyone did pretty well. Our daughter, her favorite food right now is what she calls crispy salmon, which is any sort of, it's usually like teriyaki salmon with a little bit of char to it. So she got a lot of crispy salmon on this trip, and that's what she had.
She's in a great place for loving salmon.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it worked out well for her. And our son loves dumplings of any kind. So we got some dumplings. Our daughter had salmon, and we were happy. I don't know. It was good. I think at 6 p.m., the kids turned into pumpkins. So we headed back to the hotel, gave them a bath.
It was late to them.
Yeah. I mean, we had a long day, and our daughter did not take one nap. Except for, I shouldn't say that. She fell asleep for 5 minutes in the car from the airport to the hotel, but she had a good one. So yeah, by 7, they were exhausted. We were exhausted. Everybody just fell asleep. And that was our first day in Vancouver.
For a travel day, the kids got lots of activity on the playgrounds and the splash pad and everything. That's probably good.
Yeah, no, this was one of the better travel days I think that we've had. I think it was all very good. And again, I think at least for our daughter, like having our friends come and having their son come gave her a little bit of a second wind. She did pretty well.
The next day was Sunday, August 24th, and you had plans to do Granville Island.
Yes, and I should say we had our backup flight booked for this day also. We canceled that on Saturday, like while we were in the cab. So that all worked out fine. We woke up very early, unsurprisingly. I was up probably like 3:30. My wife woke up at 4, and she tried to hide out in the corner of the bathroom and read in a nook, and it was still bright enough that I don't know if it was even her. Like it could have just been, it's 4 a.m. It feels like 7 back home, but 4 a.m. everybody was awake. And at that point, the goal was just finding a place that we could go for early morning breakfast and coffee. We found...
At 4 a.m. If you go out,
yeah.
I have a feeling you're out with the people that are still out from the night before.
Yeah, it was an interesting cross section. So we looked online to see if there's any 24-hour places, and there's a bakery called Brecca that has a few chains, but there was one that was just a few blocks away from us. So we just walked there at 5 and got coffee, got croissants for the daughter and us to eat, got some milk for her. And yeah, you had the nice cross section of the people who were very clearly up from the night before. There was like one group of like younger people who was like they looked a little bit too fresh to have been up all night, but I don't know. So some people might have been waking up early. But yeah, we had our little breakfast there and then walked back to the hotel lobby, and there were some fireplaces in the lobby. So the kids just kind of like played around while we got ourselves a little bit resettled and packed up for the day. So we kind of traded off. Like my wife went up and then I went out and got all of our stuff together, and we didn't need to take the kids back to the room. We could just kind of like stay in the lobby with them. So yeah, by 7, we kind of everyone that we were meeting up with was also awake. Or sorry, I should say the friends with the kid, the friends with a 2-year-old, they were awake. So we walked over back to Urban Fair Market in that same location, like kind of by in Cole Harbor, and got snacks for the day, a little bit of like a breakfast for them also. But so we all just sat at a table outside, kids played around, and we got ourselves kind of settled. And then we were kind of loose with this. Like you mentioned, I think the thought was we would go to Granville Island at some point. We were going to see if we could go to Stanley Park. And what we decided was like, let's take the kids to Stanley Park. We can find a playground there. And that's what we did. So by 8 a.m., we were on our way to Stanley Park. The baby napped in the stroller, which was very nice. So we could just kind of push him along the way. And then our daughter and the 2-year-old also stayed in the stroller because they could hold hands and like kind of play with each other side by side. It was not a super long walk to get there from where we were, maybe 30 minutes to get over to Second Beach, which is kind of it's like the western part of Stanley Park, if you're familiar there. But the nice thing about Second Beach is that there are 2 playgrounds that are like within eyesight of each other. So the kids played on one playground and were on the swings, and then they went over to the other playground and just kind of ran around. And we kept our son going until he woke up from his nap, like around 9, maybe 9:30. And then that was basically it. We kind of stayed in that area for a little bit longer, walked around, and tried to coordinate to meet up with our friends who had the dog who slept in. So they drove to Second Beach, or tried to drive to Second Beach to meet us. They got very turned around because apparently if you go off like the signs for parking signs within the park, they all say 62 because that's the parking zone. So they were looking for parking lot 62, and they found parking lot 62 like way over by the aquarium. And it took them like an hour to find us. So by that point, we were just like, okay, we're going to get some food here. We got a little lunch for the kids, like hot dog, fish tacos for the adults, some corn for our son to munch on. They opened up like a little local fruit stand on the water there. So we got berries from that. And we just kind of hung out until about noon, just kind of eating in the little cafe on Second Beach. So that was very nice. Mm-hmm. Our friends did make it there eventually, but by that time, the friends with the baby had to go back to their hotel room. So we almost traded off at that point. So they brought their son back to the hotel room for a more formal nap. Our kids, we were just like, we're just keeping them on the go. If we go back, then that's going to be the end of it. So we walked from Stanley Park down to the Granville Island Ferry, which again, like the seawall is really nice there because it really goes around the entire city. So we could just walk on the seawall down to the Hornaby Street Ferry. Probably took us like 45 minutes to get down there. And then we went over to Granville Island, walked around a little bit, refilled our water bottles because there are some like water bottle stations there. And then for the kids, got a little treat. Our daughter really likes chocolate ice cream, which will also come up throughout this trip.
I'm with her on that.
Yeah, preferably with rainbow sprinkles, but that is a limitation of the cruise, is that the sprinkles are a little bit harder to find, at least at ice cream. But yeah, so we went to GI Gelato, got chocolate ice cream, fed the baby, got ourselves settled, and then kind of reset a little bit there. And that was like it's like a little bit quieter than like the main market over in that area. So yeah, we had a nice little reset, and then took our kids over to the kids market. So we were with our friends who had the dog like during this whole time. And that's like a little bit of a challenge on some of these things because the dogs were not allowed inside any of the buildings there. So like our daughter wanted to go do some of the stuff in the kids market. It didn't actually last that long. She just went on some of the coin operated rides that you can call like the little train and car and stuff. And then she headed out and climbed on these like ropes that were outside of that market there and got to hang out a little bit more. They had a little like music art station also on the main floor. So it was like a nice little cute thing for the kids. We found a playground on Granville also. There's a rail spur park playground that we played on for a little bit. And I think we did a really nice job, honestly, of just kind of keeping them entertained and keeping going throughout the day. So that was like, didn't do like a ton on Granville, but felt like our daughter got to see a lot. And we ended up taking the ferry back to Hornby Street at 4 p.m. So that was like pretty much the whole day. And this is Sunday now. So our friends who live in Seattle, they had to get back home. So they went back. They had actually left their car in Stanley Park. So they went back to Stanley Park with their dog to drive back. Our friends with a baby, again, we really did some like serious exchange. My friends with a baby met up with us as they were leaving, basically.
Do the friends know each other? The dog friends?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think we did did okay on Saturday of all being together, and like we did okay on Sunday. We probably had like a nice like hour and a half of overlap overall, but yeah, it wasn't perfect on Sunday. And I think they'll have other opportunities to hang out with each other. But yeah, I mean, it was good for us because we got to see everybody. But yeah, the friends from Portland, basically, they traded places again and we got dinner with them.
It was so nice of your friends to come visit.
Yeah, it was really, really sweet. I mean, again, these are friends that predate, like friends of my wife from college. So it goes back quite a ways and we haven't seen them in person all that frequently. So it was just really nice that it worked out in general.
And you had good weather. Like at least that part seems like it worked out really well.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. And again, our friends with a 2-year-old, it was the first time that they had flown in a plane with him. So they really, they made it into a real adventure. So yeah, we really appreciated them coming. And it was great. It was really nice to spend time. And we got dinner with them right across from that, or I guess next to that Granville Island ferry station. Before the trip, we had been trying to find like dog-friendly patios around Vancouver. And there's also like some websites that you can look at. A lot of the websites, nothing's really accurate, but one of the websites that, or one of the places that comes up when you look for these things is a restaurant called Ancora, which I honestly don't know if their patio would have been dog-friendly, but it was nice and baby friendly. Like they had a nice little setup there for the kids, like outside, and the food was very good. It was like a little bit pricier than the other place that we went to the night before, but we were there early enough. I think we ate at 4:30. So we were there early enough for happy hour. So they had this sockeye salmon and albacore tuna sashimi, which is not typically what I would get for sashimi, but it was really, really good. And again, I think this is like Pacific Northwest, like this is all like the fresh local fish, so they can get like the best versions of it. But that was like amazing. We got 2 orders of that to share. And then this was the other thing. Our daughter also likes steak a lot. So she had some steak. Our son had spaghetti. We got this like risotto style quinoa that the baby really liked and that I really want to try to replicate at home. So it was a very good meal. And we were able to wrap ourselves up by 6, take our Uber back to the hotel, get the kids. I mean, it was like a 10-minute Uber. It was like very quick getting back, and then get the kids ready for bedtime at 7 once again. I stayed up a little bit later, just like in bed, just to get myself like a little bit more acclimated to the West Coast. But my wife was like out immediately also. So it was a long day, but.
From unsolved mysteries to unexplained phenomena, from comedy gold to relationship fails, Amazon Music's got the most ad-free top podcasts, included with Prime. Because the only thing that should interrupt your listening is, well, nothing. Download the Amazon Music app today.
Yes, long day, but it sounds like a good one. And then the next day was Monday, August 25th, and it was time to board the ship.
Yeah. So I think I mentioned boarding time. I wasn't totally sure when we were going to get on. It wasn't as bad as I thought. Our family's port arrival time, I think the latest was 1:30 actually. So it wasn't 3 o'clock.
Yeah, 3 o'clock did feel a little bit late to me. But
yeah. But yeah, we did, I think, pretty well. But this also meant that we had really the whole morning. And our friends,
especially if you wake up at 4.
Yes, exactly. Although we actually did much better sleeping in on Monday. So our daughter woke up around like 5, and our baby actually didn't wake up until 5:45. So I thought we did like pretty darn well on that day. This was also, we realized, so I should say, so we got in on Saturday. The rest of our party got in on Sunday, but we didn't see them at all. They like basically got a very quick bite of the hotel and went straight to bed once they got in. So we were with our friends from Portland and then just by ourselves essentially that night. In the morning, we realized, or I think we had actually realized like the night before, our hotel room came with a free breakfast, or breakfast was included. So we hadn't really thought to do that the day before, but we decided let's do breakfast with the whole family. We had a large enough party because 16 of us overall, the 9 adults and the 7 kids. So we had a large enough party that they gave us a little private room in the hotel restaurant. And so again, the Fairmont Pacific Rim, it's got like a nice setup, but it's sort of more formal restaurant. I mean, formal may not be the right word, but it's restaurants that are there. So the hotel breakfast is actually at a restaurant called Botaniste, which I think has a nice menu for like lunch and dinner. But for breakfast, it's just like the general hotel buffet, and then you can order your eggs and whatnot. So that opened at 7. We were there at 7. And
you rope dropped it?
Yeah, exactly. And we got like a little private room there that was very nice. And people kind of trickled in basically from 7 to 8. And we all had our breakfast with the whole family. And this was very nice because this was like our daughter, from the moment she got up, she wanted to see her cousins. She was like, let's go to their room. Let's go to their room. And I was like, I don't know if they're awake yet. I don't know if we could go. So we had everybody meet in the breakfast room, which is like a very nice little like homecoming for everybody.
And I don't remember if I asked you in the pre-trip, are people coming from all over, or do you guys live near each other?
Everybody's coming from the New York area. So we do see each other quite a bit, like on a regular basis. We do a lot of weekends together. We're the only ones who are actually like in the city. So it can be like a little bit of a trek for us to get out. But yeah, everyone's close enough that we can kind of see each other regularly. But I think that also
So your daughter knows everybody that's in the group.
Exactly. And everyone's very close. And again, the age ranges are really nice. Like the oldest is 9, the youngest is our son, but there's 9, 7, 6, 4, 4, 3, and 9 months. So it's a really nice range of ages, and everyone has like a good dynamic there. So they have a lot of fun together. And yeah, you'll see on the boat, I think they had a really nice time.
That's so fun.
Just having the cousin time. So, but the other thing I'll say about this is that so the whole family was there, which is very nice, but also our friends from Portland were actually still in Vancouver. Their flight back to Portland, I think, wasn't until 2:00 that day. So they were planning on staying in Vancouver until 11:30. And their ambitious plan was, let's go to the aquarium. And we managed to convince all of the kids to go to the aquarium. We played around like in the area, went out to that same patio with the Olympic cauldron, but decided that we should make a trip out there. So we all got cabs. We left like separately, but I think by 9:45 we were all at the aquarium that morning.
And your luggage is still at the hotel?
Luggage still at the hotel. Yeah, exactly. So we're in Vancouver. Let's have some time there. I don't think anyone was in a rush to get on the boat. And I think you'll see this. Disney is, I think, in a lot of ways like newer for our family, and especially the cruises. Like no one really knew what to expect for the Disney cruise. So I think the expectation is, well, we'll go again for that 1:30 boarding time, that we'll try to make it by then so we can all get on. But for the morning, it was just like, yep, we're going to do our thing in Vancouver. And I should say the checkout time of the hotel wasn't until noon. So we had a decent amount of time to kind of get ourselves settled. So yeah, so that was it. 9:45, we got to the aquarium. Our friends we met up with there, they stayed until around like 10:30, but our daughter had a lot of fun again with the 2-year-old just kind of running around. Our son like loved looking at the tanks and the sharks and just like trying to grab stuff. He's in the standing up and cruising kind of stage. So I shouldn't say he's not fully standing up, but like pulling himself up and cruising. So any chance he has to kind of like be lifting himself up to look at stuff, he gets very excited. So yeah, all the kids had a fun time there. They had really nice programming, I think, but we needed to get ourselves back to the hotel. So we stayed until about 11, and then all the cousins headed back. And we got ourselves settled in the lobby. So we did lunch in the hotel lobby. They have, again, it's kind of a nicer restaurant menu there, but they had chicken fingers, they had dumplings for our son. I got a bento box, they had edamame. It was sort of like, I guess, a little bit of a Japanese theme in general for it, but good restaurant, good food, and just like able to kind of contain us in one place in the lobby, so that it was like different family members were going back to the room and grabbing bags and bringing them down. We were kind of like doing the pack out process while everyone was in the lobby. And then I think by 12:30, we were kind of all set and ready to head over. We did not realize how close it was. So we had basically asked the front desk to, like, they basically would arrange a transport to get to the port. So we asked them to do that with the thought process that the car would go with all the bags and then the people would all walk over to the port. I think in retrospect, we could have just walked over to the port because what we didn't realize is like the bags, first off, the cars take a lot longer to wind their way through traffic to get there. And then also the cars don't end up in the same place as the people. So we went in where we were supposed to go into the cruise terminal, And then we realized like we have no idea where our bags are. We sent one person with the bags, but she wasn't sure exactly what the deal was. And ultimately it would have been fine because they have the bag drop like at the car level also. So she could actually just do the bag drop there. The problem is that one of the families in our party didn't actually get their luggage tags in the mail. So they needed to get the luggage tags and get them onto the bags. So this ended up being like probably like a 30-minute process of just figuring out how to triangulate and get things to where they needed to go. So if I had to do it again, I probably wouldn't have split up, but it wasn't so hard. I mean, we basically just had to find the elevator to go down to the parking level. And then me and my brother-in-law just met up with my sister-in-law and we all kind of like, he put the bags on his luggage. We got everything taken care of. We went back up and we went through the rest of the check-in process. So check-in was not as smooth as it could have been, but that's more on us than on Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I think we've realized, so we got our daughter and son both have their like baby photo in their passport. We have global entry for both of them because we've done a little bit of international travel with both of them now. So the thought process was that this would like expedite things, but it turns out that our daughter's passport photo from when she was like 3 months old or something like that does not match her current face. So she got flagged on both.
Who knew? I know, but I don't understand how it's supposed to.
It's a whole like, I don't know. So anyway, she had to go through like the longer check-in line at the port so that they could actually review her passport. The agents were like not super friendly there for some reason. I don't know exactly. I don't know. It was a stressful day for them maybe. But my wife took her. I waited for our son. So it took us a little bit longer really to get on. So I would say actually we didn't get onto the ship until closer to 2 in the end. So
and is that just your specific family that was affected like that?
So yeah, I will actually not just us. So one other family that was with our party had the same issue with one of their kids' passports. I don't know if I think they might have had global entry also. But in general, like we were kind of moving as a unit overall.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm trying to remember. I think 1 or 2 of the families did potentially get on the boat a little bit before us, but for the most part, we were all kind of like moving together. So, but it wasn't so bad. And again, it's even for me, like you kind of have your pre-planning, like looking at stuff and seeing what's going to happen. But then you like forget about certain stuff. Like we get on the boat and you forget about the fact that they're going to announce like our family and there's going to be bell waving from the steps. All of the kind of like Disney magic stuff, you don't necessarily process it until you're in the moment with it. It worked out fine. And I think it was a really nice entry onto the boat. I think we, again, didn't really have a specific agenda for this. It was more just, okay, well, let's see, can we actually get into our rooms? And we all had our magic bands. They had been activated in the port. So we were able to get in and we brought like a few bags with us. I glossed over like the milk part of it, but this was like a big, big organizing part of this trip is we're traveling with a lot of frozen breast milk. Our son has only had breast milk like leading up to this trip. And obviously like on the cruise, there's no freezer space available. So we had this whole like thought process of like, how are we going to actually do the frozen milk? And ultimately we landed on this freezer bag that fit the Disney specifications. We loaded it up with all the frozen milk. We had a lot of like ice bags that we had pre-packed and we brought it on. But that was like a big part was just like maintaining that like freezer bag and seeing how long we could get it to go. We brought formula also, obviously. But the thought process was like, let's see how long we can get the breast milk to last for him to keep on having breast milk bottles throughout the trip. So
it's like liquid gold. You don't want to spoil it.
Exactly. And we asked at multiple locations. We asked at guest services. We also went to like the infant nursery to see if they had some like freezer space. No, there's no option. You got to just pack your freezer bag and see how long you can make it last. But yeah, that was a real adventure because there was a lot of, I think we ended up doing it basically twice a day in the end. We asked our room attendant for just to like refill, like to bring us ice like in the morning and night, but it wasn't actually like enough to fill all the gaps. So we had brought like plastic bags with us. We were going to the ice machine and drink machine on deck 9 to just fill it up throughout the trip. But yeah, anyway, we got that set up. So I think once we dropped our bags, we went up to cabanas to just get some water, get resettled. None of us were super hungry at that point because we had just had a lunch. So we really just kind of like mainly were trying to hydrate and then went down to the kids club to get the kids all set up. So we did verify our daughter. I done like the pre-check-in for her, but she got verified there. She was not very interested in drop off, but the nice thing about the kids clubs is there's so many open houses, it doesn't really matter that much as long as, of course, we were willing to be with her. But yeah, so we got her set up. We went to the nursery to take a look. We did not use the nursery at all on this trip. It was nice to see. But again, I think this was just one of those things where the goal was to maximize the cousin time. And I think that ended up being kind of the way that we planned our days, was like, how do we get the baby playing with the older cousins? And that was it. I mean, it was open house all afternoon. So essentially until the assembly drill, we were just doing open house at the kids club.
A playground, continuing your playground.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'll say for the kids, like Oceaneer Club was definitely the better space for our kids than Oceaneer Lab. I think the lab space was like a little bit more open. I think they had like activities and stuff throughout the day, but the club had the slide. It had even like for our son, like a really nice, like basically infant playground, which is like very low stairs, low slide. And he just crawled over that the entire time. That was like his favorite thing. That and like they had buckets and hula hoops in both of the kids clubs. And he could also just play with those all day. So he did great. And let's see. So I will say right before the assembly drill, we did go back to the room just to give the kids a little snack and see if we had any bags. Only one of the bags we had checked had actually arrived by that point. So we did a little bit of unpacking, but mainly just kind of like got the kids refueled with this is like pouches and packaged snacks that we had brought on just to get them a little bit settled. Yeah.
I want to ask just your first impressions because it's your first cruise. So first impressions of the ship and the room.
Yeah, I will say, so I think I had read a lot kind of warning me about the size and everything. I thought it was like a really nice setup for what it was. So again, we all had veranda rooms in our party. I think the way that they set it up was really nice, that they really had the pull-out couch and crib section and then the bed section and a curtain partitioning them. I thought like the amount of storage was really nice. We were able to unpack all of our stuff and everything fit in all the different drawers. And again, we brought a lot. We were packing for the whole week. Plus we had all the diapers and all the milk stuff. And yeah, I thought it was really quite well appointed. I mean, the challenge is that obviously the veranda was on the other side of the kids. So it was not always very easy to sneak out there, but it was doable. I did it on a few occasions, like during nap time, basically. But the other thing that was kind of nice is, so the TV was on like a swivel arm. So if I wanted to like pull the screen out, I could actually close the curtain behind it. And at one point, like I was watching the US Open while my son napped while I was just kind of stuck in the room. And that was just like a nice thing to be able to do. So yeah, the room itself was really nice. I mean, I'll get into it, but yeah, our room attendant was fantastic. And the ship was, it was, again, like this is the first cruise I've been on since I was 10 years old. I don't really have a lot to compare it to, but I thought it was really nice. I thought, again, walking into that atrium and seeing the setup there was just really beautiful. Everything was very easy in terms of getting around. Yeah, it was a really, it felt very comfortable and it felt like home by the end of the week.
A lot of parents with young kids worry about the verandas. So you guys had a lot of veranda rooms, a lot of kids. How did that work?
Yeah, I think the veranda, I mean, this is, I guess, how it is on all the balconies, right? Like they have the kind of metal bars that are blocking stuff off, but they also have a whole plexiglass layer below it. So there was really no way for our son to do anything. I guess in theory, he could have tried to sneak his toy under and maybe it could have gotten over the lip and out. There's maybe some stuff that could have fallen off, but our daughter is also generally not like a huge climber for these things. I think that would be the risk, right? Is like the kid climbing up. I will say there is no way she could have figured out that door on her own. So as long as the door is closed, it's fine.
Yeah, because sometimes the adults have trouble figuring out the door.
Yes, I know.
But I think it's the climbing. I think that's the main concern. So I think some people pull the chairs in or whatever off them. balcony.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of, I felt like, at least with our kids, it was easy enough for us to control it where we could open the door with them and they could sit out there with us. But then otherwise there was no real way for them to get out otherwise. I could see with like maybe a more rambunctious 4 or 5-year-old, it may be a little bit of a challenge.
Were you all in a row, your rooms?
Yeah, so we were deck 7 on the starboard side, right? Whatever the right side of the boat is, kind of between midship and aft, the back of the ship. And we were mostly in a row, but there was like a little bit of spacing. Like the grandparents were about like 10 doors down from us. There was randomly one family between us and like the rest of the cousin rooms. So I mean, I don't think that we bothered them too much, but yeah, it was, to be fair though, it was kind of noticeable because again, it's like our first Disney cruise. We didn't really come with all the accoutrements. So if you look down the hallway, you have all these really nicely decked out rooms with the magnets, with the fish extenders, and then our doors were all bare. So we were not necessarily living up to the spirit of it, but you could kind of tell which rooms were ours just because of that, because we were probably some of the few people who didn't have stuff on there. But I was thinking about this also.
There's a lot to remember though, to be fair. So adding magnets and fish extenders is like another thing on the list.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing with this is a lot of the people who were on this cruise, this was not their first cruise, right? Like they had been on at least one previous Disney cruise. And I think you start building up some of this stuff with previous cruises that you've been on. I think it's a little bit unusual for Alaska to be like the first place that you go to with Disney because, I mean, again, we'll get into the excursions and stuff, but if you're really trying to do the most in-demand things, it's harder to get them. So that may have been part of it also, this was our first Disney cruise and we weren't necessarily prepared for all the things.
But it's okay. I'm almost on 10 cruises in December, but I didn't have magnets at the beginning and now I have them and I just take them every time.
Exactly. Yeah.
You build up to it.
Yeah. And there was, I mean, one of the doors like pretty close to us that we walked past every day, like they had the ships that they had been on and it was every single boat that Disney has. So it was pretty cool to actually see and chatting with some of the people and the experiences that they had. It is an amazing community. And I think part of what's so cool about this stuff is just the amount of experience that people have and that they're willing to share with all of it. So yeah, it was pretty cool. Okay. Assembly drill at 4 p.m. Very uneventful. Everybody was there.
Where's your muster station?
Station I, which was a very nice location because it was like right next to the door. So we did not have to go very far and we just kind of hung out. I should say, once again, like the weather was perfect this day as it was pretty much every day. So it was not a problem to be out on the deck, kind of hanging out there. And in fact, after the assembly drill was over, we just kept on walking around the deck. We watched some kids play shuffleboard. It was a very kind of nice, low-key time. And then I think the families dispersed a little bit. Some people went back to their rooms. Some people went back to the kids' club. We were still just enjoying being out on the deck. But this is also where we start getting into some of the Disney. There's going to be pictures with Minnie. So we went to find Minnie inside on deck 4. And I think it was like right when we went inside, that's when the boat left port. I think we mentioned like the sail away party wasn't until that night because Vancouver has noise restrictions. So they would not allow, outside of the tooting of the horn, they couldn't have any additional celebration on the deck. So it was not the most high key leaving of the port, but it was nice to see us getting moving. And then the other thing that, again, this is like the Disney magic piece of it as it got started, while we were waiting for pictures with Minnie, Ariel just like kind of showed up on the balcony across the way and was waving, and our daughter got very excited and went to take pictures with her. So it was just like, I don't know, it just felt like the start of a real kind of Disney experience for that week. So we got pictures with Ariel, we got pictures with Minnie, and then we just, got that experience of kind of being on the boat there.
And you didn't have too much time before it was dinner.
No. Yeah, exactly. So we did go back to the room after that at about 5. And this is one where all of our bags had arrived. So we did the splitting up of duty. We basically one parent out on the balcony, one parent inside unpacking bags, and got it done in 30 minutes. It was pretty solid. So, this was one where it was just like I could sit with the kids on the balcony or on the veranda. We could keep them out of the way. They could play around a little bit on the floor, but it didn't feel like too much or anything. And we kept them occupied until dinner.
And you said there was a crib. I am not familiar with this process. So is that something you requested from Disney Cruise, and when did they bring it?
Yeah. So within special requests, like within the app, and this was available even before check-in, actually. I think we could put this request in as soon as we booked the cruise. You can request a crib, you can request like bars for the bed, and you can request a booster seat and a high chair. And I put in requests for the kids. So I put in a request for the crib and a diaper pail. I put in a request for that like safety bar for our daughter on the pull-out couch. I put in the request for the high chair and the booster seat at dinner, and it was all ready to go as soon as we got on. So from the moment we walked into our room, the crib was there, the bar was there, the diaper pail was there. There was no additional setup required.
Does the word request make you nervous? It's not guaranteed.
So I had read that there are, and I don't know if it was diaper pails or something else. It was definitely bottle warmers, but there are certain things that you actually have to request at guest services when you get on the boat. I'm trying to see. Let's see. Yeah. So actually, that's true. So the requests that I put in for were actually only the pack and play crib and the bed rails. My understanding was, if you have a diaper pail, you have to request it from guest services when you get on the boat. And I was a little bit nervous about that. I mean, we carry the diaper like trash bags with us, but the diaper pail was there. It was the diaper genie that was already set up in the room. So they were like fully on top of it. And I mean, we've been through this experience with a few different places. Like, it's very hit or miss, but Disney was very on it, which was very nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of wild if they don't come through. Like, where's the baby gonna go?
Yeah. Well, the hotels for sure, I feel like somehow they like get the request and then you show up and it's like nobody has ever heard of this being a thing. So it felt very nice that they were on it for this. But yeah, so no, and again, like I think the room was a really perfect setup for us. We had the little drying rack for our son's bibs and the bottles and stuff that we had set up next to the sink. It felt very comfortable for what it was. I mean, obviously, more space is always nicer, but I felt like we could kind of use the room pretty well, all things considered.
When you said earlier, you typically like hotels that have a little bit more space or a closure. I was like, well, cruises don't have that usually. So, but the way that they've set it up makes separation with the curtain and the two different bathroom spaces.
Yeah. I mean, I think the curtain was like huge because it also meant that we could actually leave some lights on the other side. It was a dark enough curtain that we could actually operate. So yeah, I felt like that made a massive difference. And it worked out pretty well. Yeah.
Okay. So you got settled in the room.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, dinner at 5:45. So
which dining room?
Tiana's. So we had two tables, and this was kind of a question of like, how do you do it? They had them set up as two separate tables right next to each other initially. At a certain point, we just had them push the tables together for dinners. This was also a little bit like we actually only sat at one table this first night because the family with three kids, like the oldest kids, they like crashed. So they got dinner at Cabanas and just called it, or maybe not at Cabanas. I don't know if Cabanas was actually open at that point, but at one of the quick service places on deck 9, and they called it for the night. But we went with everybody else.
Older kids crash, but the toddlers are still going.
Yeah, it is funny how, I mean, that did happen on a few occasions, I feel like, in the night. I mean, yeah, our daughter rallied for a few things that the older kids could not make it to. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so once again, daughter had salmon. This was like her request, and I think the kids menu is very nice there. They have a lot of options, but mainly for her, like salmon, broccoli, cauliflower, that was like everything that she needed. She was very happy. And fruit, of course. And our son he tried some pasta with tomato sauce. I think it worked out really well for them. So, and I'll say, like, throughout the trip, like this is one of those things that I think Disney, maybe it should go without saying, but it's worth mentioning that they do really well with the kids. All the wait staff was just like so good with them. They all had some sort of trick to bring, like they had a little squeaky toy that they would make noises with. They had magic tricks. They had little origami animals. There was just enough like kind of entertainment for the kids throughout. And the menu was also like really good for them, I think, throughout the week.
One of the facets of being in a big group sometimes is that the dining can take a while. Did you have that experience?
So yes and no. I mean, I think that the nice thing is you got their cadence down, right? Like they took the kids' orders first, the kids' food came first, Then the appetizers came, then the main course. There were definitely like some hiccups along the way. And so, for instance, this first night, like I had ordered this smoked salmon appetizer and it never came. The waiter brought it at the end, but it was like, I mean, at that point, like dessert was over, like it was dessert time and I didn't really need it at that point. So like things like that, I would say. But I think that they were pretty efficient overall. I think in general, dinner was done by 7. Like it was, dessert was either served or like ready to be served by 7 o'clock every night, which felt pretty good.
Dinner was 5:45?
Dinner was 5:45. Yeah.
That's not too bad. Because 2 hours, it's 2 hours. It's not uncommon. That happens.
Yeah, no, I think they did pretty well. I mean, again, like there were some things where it got slowed down, but I think the nice thing was the kids' food never got slowed down. It was always like the adult food that was coming later. And we did have.
But what are the kids doing though? If they're eating and then they're done and then you're eating, what are they doing?
Yes. Well, this is a good question. So first off, I would say the kids were generally not eating when their food came. So this is something I think I talked about in the pre-trip. It's like when you get them all together, God knows where it's going to go. But then also there's like some level of entertainment every night. So on the first night, Tiana's, they had the show with Tiana and her band. So one of the cousins got up and was dancing. My daughter was just kind of like craning her neck, trying to figure out where Tiana was. But in general, it took maybe 20 to 30 minutes for them to actually start eating anyway, which honestly, like that works out pretty well because I think as long as they have something to tide them over so they're not losing their minds, they can take a quick bite. But I think their meal lasted about as long as ours for the most part. And I should say they did tend to bring dessert for the kids while the adults' main course was still on the table also. So that was the other thing, was like we could, when things were starting to get out of hand, we could start transitioning to dessert a little bit.
Assume the servers, they know this. That's probably why they did it that way, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, they were definitely like monitoring it and I think did a good job staying on top of it. And this is also one, like I said, our daughter usually likes chocolate ice cream. The Mickey Pop was her go-to dessert every meal. And it was like a standing order by the end of it. Like she didn't need to say anything. They would just bring her a Mickey Pop.
Which is so nice. That's the beauty of having the same servers.
Yeah. So yeah, it was all very good. One other like random quirk, which I feel like I was not expecting. And so this is I guess a critique of Disney, something that I would have expected at Disney, but the changing table situation was like not great. So I could not find a single men's room on the boat that had a changing table. The women's rooms apparently were a little bit hit or miss. Some had them. Some of them had just a flat surface that kind of acted as, even they didn't have a real changing table. But what I realized is that I had to go into the accessible restroom, like on deck 4 next to Tiana's, on deck 3 next to Tiana's in order to actually change a diaper. Because there was no other men's room I could find that had it. So that was like one. I went to change my son's diaper in the middle of the meal, couldn't find one in the men's room, and then just went out to the deck and just changed it on the deck. So that was one that I feel like I was a little bit surprised by.
Mm-hmm. That's good to know.
But I mean, again, not a major issue because we mostly were changing diapers in the room. And the worst case scenario, as I'm sure all parents have dealt with, is you can always put a pad on the floor and just figure it out. But yeah, that one was a little bit of a surprise. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we managed. So that day we were out of Tiana's by 7. Our daughter had already had her Mickey Pop, so she was good. And we did bath time. We had an elephant towel on the bed for turn down service, and then the kids were asleep by 7. Oh, sorry. The baby was asleep by 7:30. And now we get into the kind of what is the post-dinner situation going to look like? So my daughter wanted to see Mickey and Minnie for the sail wave party. That was scheduled for 7:45. So that was like we had gotten far enough out of Vancouver to where they could actually make noise now. So they did the sail wave party on the deck at 7:45. My wife took our daughter up to the deck for that. I showered. I ordered a cheese plate. I ordered some wine, and we got the room service to the room right when my daughter arrived. So my wife put her down to bed, and then we got ourselves kind of set up for a lovely wine and cheese on our bed.
That's so nice, though.
Yeah.
I just love, I know a lot of parents end up in the room for bedtimes and things like that, but it's, but you're not stuck. You can at least order food, turn on a movie.
Yeah. And I think the thought process was we might try to sneak out like onto the veranda, but it was colder outside by that point. Like it had gotten pretty windy and it just felt like a lot with the kids like half sleeping there. So it was comfortable on the bed. We got ourselves a nice settle in and yeah, made it to 9:15 for bedtime. So we stayed up as late as we could.
Sounds like a fantastic embarkation day.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. You had said the next day is Tuesday, August 26th, and it's a day at sea. So how did this day go?
Yeah, it was very nice. So I will say this was like the only like snap of not great weather was this morning. It was super foggy. The foghorn was going like pretty actively all morning. And even after it cleared up, it still stayed pretty chilly all day. So it was a good at sea day, frankly. Like we got to kind of stay in the room. There wasn't as much to see, although I will say like even on day one, just like leaving Vancouver, going through BC and like seeing the coastline there, it's all gorgeous. All of the landscape in this area with the islands and just like the green shores, it's really beautiful. So and yeah, but it didn't feel like we were missing that much, just kind of being on the boat and being inside. We woke up early. We get there over the course of the week. But yeah, 4:30 a.m., everyone was awake. We tried to keep everyone in bed until 5, but that did not, we basically gave up at that point. So it was fine. We did, I should say, like not every day, but for most of the days, we did the like room service card that we hung out the night before. So got coffee, croissant, and an English muffin and some fruit delivered to the room.
Did you have it delivered at 4:30 a.m.?
We actually planned for 5:30. We were like, it's probably too much to do it any earlier than that. And maybe we would have been fine to have it delivered at 5. Mm-hmm. I think 5 is the earliest that was on the card, although now I'm not actually remembering. But yeah, we went for 5:30. But it was perfect, honestly. By that time, the baby had his bottle. Our daughter was kind of like up and a little bit more energetic. And yeah, had our little room service pre-breakfast. And so this is where, nighttime, we had replaced the ice. Morning time, up to cabanas to replace the ice in the freezer bag. We went outside and we went up midship. We went outside right as the foghorn sounded, and it was not good for anybody in our group. It is very loud.
Terrifying.
Yeah, our daughter basically for the rest of the boat ride asked if the foghorn was going to be on whenever we walked up on deck 9. So yeah, just be aware, it's loud. But we made it through. We walked over, got ice, and then went back down. And then we just kind of wandered around, honestly. We didn't really stay in the room that much, kind of from 6 until 7. We just sort of wandered the ship, explored all the different areas that were there. We stayed inside the whole time, other than that small venture outside. But I think it was a good just kind of like orienting ourselves, just like figuring out where the shops are, where the Walt Disney Theater is. And again, I think I've heard this on other trip reports, like the Wonder is not massive. It feels pretty like compact and doable. So I thought by the end of that day, I think we were pretty well oriented in terms of what was where within the ship, which was very nice. Mm-hmm. So 7 o'clock, cabanas. That was our breakfast spot. All the cousins joined. We grabbed 3 tables together. There was always like the morning shuffle of rearranging and figuring out where the tables are. But, we got it all together. Mickey waffles for the kids, bacon, fruit. And that's the other thing is for our son, like the squares of fruit that they had were like not great for him just from like a choking hazard perspective. So I did learn that I could request larger pieces of fruit, but you have to do it at dinner and they'll set it up for the next day. So that's what one of the servers told me that morning. And then that night I requested that we have like larger pieces of cantaloupe and pineapple for him to hold on to. And so we had that really throughout the rest of the week, which was very nice. But he was fine.
You requested a dinner for Cabana's breakfast?
Yes,
and then
exactly.
where did you go to get those?
You basically just tell one of the servers at Cabana's, hey, I'm sweet whatever. I requested this fruit like with my server last night. Can you check on it? And they talk to whoever they talk to and they come back with it. But yeah, I think it's just kind of a request that's put in with the dining services. I mean, our wait staff was at cabanas on at least some of the mornings. I think they might have rotated, like they might have also been at Tritons in the morning on some days, but sometimes we actually saw them and were able to like ask them directly. But usually like we could kind of like mention it to whoever and they would figure it out. Yeah. And once again, I mean, the wait staff is really fantastic throughout all of this. Super helpful, bringing high chairs over, pouring coffee for us, just like anything that we needed. Like I would often just be like carrying my son around while I was going through the buffet and they would say, let me take that plate for you. So it was a very nice service throughout.
That is nice.
Okay, so that was breakfast. And then, yeah, so by 8:00, our baby needed a nap. So this is the morning choreography was like, who's going to stay back with the baby and who is going to go explore the boat with our daughter and the cousins. So this first morning, my wife was on baby duty and I had the kids. We had a very tough window. So I don't know. I don't think this was as true on any other day, but day 2, there was nothing happening until 8:30. That it was like the ship was kind of like dead until then. And that 30 minutes of 8 to 8:30 was like a whole scene. It was like races down the hall, going into Azure, which I'm like not entirely sure was open, and dancing on the stage. That was just like anything to get the energy out. And all the parents were just kind of like standing around hoping that nothing bad happened, essentially. So we made it through. But my recommendation for Disney would be like maybe start things a little bit earlier on day 2. Because I think there's so many kids coming from the East Coast with time zone changes and whatnot. My daughter had been up for hours already and was just ready to get energy out. And she was not doing it in the most constructive ways, I would say.
Even people that are on Pacific time, though, kids get up early.
Yeah, that's also true.
So something to do.
Yeah. But it was fine. I mean, they had a great time. That's the theme in all this is that no matter what, they're going to have a great time. It's just how nervous we're going to get. But by 8:30, Kids Club had open hours. So that was our next move was just like get them into the Kids Club, into a little bit more of a contained space. And that was very good. But we actually didn't. So this is where we go from thing to thing. And some of the cousins came with, some of them stayed. There was a lot of like splitting off of the older boys would often like kind of do their own thing. It just kind of depended a little bit. So we did, I basically asked my daughter if she wanted to meet Moana. She did. But then as soon as we got in line, she said she was thirsty. So we went to go get water at Tritons. And while we were, and really just asked for a to-go cup from there. And while we were there at 9:00, all the princesses came in for the royal gathering. So that was like a massive distraction. And I had to like gently explain to my daughter that we were doing this later in the week and we couldn't get in line for this one. I think we had kind of mentioned on the pre-trip call, like I had gotten the royal gathering for the 4 of us, but I wasn't sure if anyone else had. And this was like a situation where, you know, my sister-in-law didn't realize that there was no way to get on that line. And her daughter, who's the same age as my daughter, did not handle that news well because she was also like with us in the moment, looking at all these princesses coming out and like really saying, I want to go there. I want to go there. So yeah, so we had a little bit of a moment there, but we figured ourselves out. I think the other thing with it is we all had the royal tea booked as well. So there were plenty of princess opportunities. It's just like in that moment when you see them walking past, like that can be it can trigger some feelings for the kids basically. So we learned maybe stay away from the atrium like 9 to 9:30. Try to go like different routes. Also,
I'm just going to say that because it's reservation only, it feels like they should put them in their own space.
I know, yeah.
Because it's not, I don't know, if it's a paid event that they want to promote, okay, put them out there, maybe more people will purchase whatever, but it's not paid. It's just like teasing people.
Yeah, I know. And it is funny because I feel like that, I mean, that's very much what they do. Like with the tea, for instance, like that's in Tritons. So like you can see the doors open, but like the princesses themselves are contained. And I think that is one thing that I mean, you kind of recognize this, like anytime that like Belle or Ariel or Tiana were actually like out in their dress, that was like the biggest compared to Mickey or Minnie. It didn't even compare. Those are like the big ticket items. So yeah, it's bound to be very distracting. But it was okay. I think we got everybody calmed down. We went over, there was like a door hanger decorating in the French Quarter Lounge. So we like pulled them off and went to a French Quarter Lounge. That was like a very good, like, if it's not the kids club, we need something for them to do with their hands. That was a very good spot in the mornings. There was usually some sort of like art activity going on there. And that was perfect. Let's see. But yeah, so by 9, so yeah, we did door hangers. We went back to the kids club at 9:30 to meet up with everybody. By that point, the baby had woken up, so he was doing his crawling all over the playground area. I will also say, so this is, my daughter loved the kids club. One of the reasons she loved the kids club is that in the little Toy Story area, there's a screen that is just playing movies on loop. And she would alternate between going down the slide and just pausing to stand or sit and just watch the movie. So we tried at various points to kind of like pull her away from the screens, but it's vacation. So I think it was fine. But that's one of the things, she zones out everything when there's a screen in front of her. So that became like everything going on for her.
But the kids only did the kids clubs when it was open house, right?
For the most part. We did one test of drop off, but it was pretty much always open house. And when our daughter did the drop off test, she said she didn't really like it. She missed mom and dad too much. So we gave it a shot. I mean, she went with her older cousin. I think it was the best version of trying to do it. But yeah, she's still, I think it's like partially her age and also just partially her personality. She doesn't really want to be doing her own thing separate from mom and dad at this point. So it's okay.
I think it's good for parents listening to know that the kids have to choose to go in, and the staff's not going to take them from you like a daycare might.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess for the baby, you can just hand them over. But
the nursery will. If you book the nursery, absolutely, just not the kids clubs.
Yeah. But again, I think what was nice about having such a large party is that I didn't feel completely like tethered when she was there, because most of we were just kind of hanging out, the parents, while the kids were there. There was usually at least one parent from each family, so that we could kind of like trade off if somebody needed to go grab coffee or go to the guest services or something like that. We could kind of rotate a little bit, and it didn't feel too overwhelming. And plus, we were there to hang out with each other anyway, so I think it was good. It didn't feel too restrictive to be tied to their schedule. On the other hand, we didn't really know what we were missing. And when we did, I like, again, the nice thing about being part of the WhatsApp group is if something happened, like somebody on the boat took a picture of it. So I could live vicariously through them. I didn't feel like I was missing out on too much by not being there in person for the moment. So yeah, so that's, let's see. So that takes us to like 10 a.m. that day. It already feels like it's been a long day, but
it's been 6 hours for you. You've been late.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We went back to Cabanas for snack, and this is something I appreciated. Is they had Cabanas has like a massive setup in general, but I like the fact that you could get like fried rice and congee and stuff at the breakfast buffet, because that meant if we went back for the end of breakfast service, I needed a mid-morning stack, I could have my fried rice, and that was very nice. Mm-hmm. And let's see, and then after that, we went back down to the 5th floor, and the kids discovered that there is a popcorn station outside the Buena Vista Theater. So we got our refillable popcorn bucket, which came in handy throughout the cruise. I would definitely, I don't know. I did not like map out the price exactly on what the savings is, but I think it's worth having, because it just feels better to just be getting it refilled rather than having a new smaller container every time. And we went directly from there to get in line to see Donald. So I think our daughter definitely did enjoy the character greetings. She was like hit or miss on how much she wanted to wait in line, but she always wanted to see them when they were there. So even when we didn't wait in line, she would just go take a look at who's on deck 5 or deck 4 atrium, peek over and just kind of walk over and see who it is and give him a little wave. So that was nice. But we did wait for Donald, took some photos with him, with the cousins, with the baby. And then from there went to D Lounge for Disney Tunes trivia. That was nice. So they had a couple musicians on the boat for the whole trip. So the pianist who was there just kind of, he rattled off a bunch of tunes from memory, and we were fine, but we did score the card of a group next to us that got a perfect score. So that was pretty impressive. But yeah, that was very fun for the kids, actually, just like hanging out in D Lounge. And our son, as long as he had something to climb on, he was very happy throughout this whole boat. So there was enough like stimulation there, and they all got to kind of hang out with each other there. So yeah, that was it. After that, it was nap time again. And so now I was on baby duty in the room. My wife was on daughter duty, although at that point she was crashing. So we said maybe we can try to get her to fall asleep in the stroller for a little bit. And so my wife took my daughter for a walk around the deck. I sat with my son in the room and just kind of hung out while that happened. So my daughter did fall asleep in the stroller by 12:15 maybe, and my wife brought her back to the room. So now it's me in the dark bedroom with the baby in the crib and my daughter in her stroller just like next to the bed, basically until 1:15. And then we switched, and like my wife ate while I was in the room with them. We switched. I went up to Cabanas and I ate. And then by 1:45, our son was awake, but our daughter was still asleep in her stroller in our room. So
is this her first day napping?
She did fall asleep on a couple occasions on some of the other days, but it was like very inconsistent. She didn't nap on Embarkation Day. She fell asleep for maybe like 45 minutes in the stroller on Sunday, and she had that 5-minute cat nap on Saturday. So it was pretty hit or miss. I think this was one of the few days that she actually napped.
Well, you have some excursions that take place over that time period.
Exactly. Yeah. But, I think in general, I mean, she was really tired this morning that day because she had woken up so early. So this was probably necessary, but also necessary because she had the Royal Court Royal Tea that afternoon. So we were like kind of debating, should we call it? Should we not? 2:15, she woke up. And then I actually, at this point, had the baby at Cabanas, was just like giving him a bottle there, and had tried to get some stuff from the buffet before it closed. So mom and our daughter came up to Cabanas. We had a very quick lunch. And then straight from there, mom took her down to the Royal Court Royal Tea. So this is in Tritons. This is, again, it's the same princesses as the Royal Gathering, but it's a little bit more choreographed. They tell you about their first time having tea. It's a lot of like cute stories. They have little treats and stuff. My daughter loved that there were chocolate covered marshmallows. That's like very exciting for her.
Makes chocolate girl.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought I had read some stuff online of during COVID, the gifts like maybe had gotten like a little bit lower quality or whatever. But I think it was like, my wife said it seemed worth it just in terms of all. It was just very cute, right? It was a great experience for her. She got an autograph book that she could use for the rest of the cruise. She got to really meet all the princesses and have a very nice time there.
And was anybody else in your group there?
Yes. And that was the other thing I was going to say. So the girls, like the younger girls, there's the 2 4-year-olds and a 3-year-old, and then also the 9-year-old girl. Those were kind of like the girls on the trip. The boys didn't really have any interest, but my daughter and her 3-year-old cousin both went to this one. And then the other girls had a reservation on day 7.
Okay.
So that was like, we split it up 2 and 2, not intentionally. It was just kind of like, that's what was available.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very nice. So my daughter and the 3-year-old cousin, they both got photos. They sat next to each other. The seating arrangement's a little bit weird. I guess they try to put all the girls together like closer to the princesses. But what that means is the parents are kind of like behind them and can't actually sit with them during the meal service, which is like a little bit awkward, apparently. I don't know. I wasn't there in person, so I didn't get the full experience. I was in Oceaneer Lab, just having my baby was just, again, open house, and he was just playing with buckets and hula hoops for the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my experience while they were doing the tea. But I think it was a really good experience for them. They had a lot of fun. My wife, who's often very kind of skeptical of this stuff, said it was very cute, and yeah, it was a nice experience for them. So and then I should also say, try to get our baby cat nap. So I put him into the carrier and started walking around with him. He fell asleep around like 4:15. And then by that point, they were just getting out of the tea. So I met up with my wife and daughter. We walked over to the Oceaneer Club. And then I kind of just wandered around from there, again, exploring the ship until the baby woke up. met them at the kids club, and then dropped off all the stuff and got ourselves kind of ready for dinner from there. So a lot of open house kids club time throughout that day.
Yeah, but at least there's a contained place where they can run around.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Oh, and this is what, the screen time. So my daughter was watching Bolt on one of the TVs in the kids club, and open house was ending at 5:30, and we like literally had to like pull her away and say it's closing. So we pulled them away. This was also formal night. So once again, I don't think we really appreciated how seriously a lot of people take it. And it was amazing to see like we were just on the 5th floor balcony, like people watching like all the atrium photos going on. It was really lovely. But of course, like we didn't think about it for our first Disney cruise. So on the next one, we will have to think about actually dressing up for formal night. But
I know lots of people do love to get dressed up, but I assume you saw kind of a range.
So you weren't the only ones.
Oh, yeah, no. I didn't feel like we were underdressed per se. I think it was more just kind of, it was nice. It was cute that people had their formal wear on. In the WhatsApp group, there was a couple that had recently gotten engaged. There was a couple that recently gotten married. So there was a lot of like occasions that people were dressing up for. And I thought that was like just a nice thing to be able to see. But no, I mean, I think some of like grandma felt bad that she hadn't packed like more formal wear, basically. But I think otherwise it was very nice. Yeah. And I'll also say, so this was the day that I should have been checking the app, because we had booked a Shutters photo session, and on the I think on this day in the afternoon, I had just double checked to see. It was day 7. I double checked to see if we could book it for an hour. And it was very nice. So in the app, you can only book like 30-minute sessions, but they recommend an hour if you have a large group, which we had a large group. And they had actually just seen that request. I think I had sent a message or something in the app, and they had just automatically made it an hour booking. I didn't need to like do anything extra.
But still on the 7th day.
Still on the 7th day, exactly. Yeah. But that night on day 2, because the next day was Glacier Day, they sent a message that said, hey, we see that you have this time booked. We do still have time available on Glacier Day if you're interested. And I did not see that message. And in retrospect, I really should have been checking, because it would have been amazing to get the photos on Glacier Day. I think we still got a really nice photo session, but that's just one that like, if I had been paying attention to the app, I would have seen that and said, oh yeah, we could just be doing the photos on Glacier Day. And I tried going by the desk, but on Glacier Day, the photographers are like out all day. Mm-hmm. So the desk was just closed until 5 p.m. So I didn't really have a chance to do any rebooking. Maybe I could have tried calling from the stateroom on their phone to see it, but I didn't see that message until 4:30 on day 3. So that's my like one notice of just don't just look at the app for all the activities. Also check your notifications, because sometimes they're helpful. Mm-hmm. But I think that's...
But you got that notification on Tuesday, and Glacier Day was
Tuesday, exactly.
Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So I got that notification, I think, came through like right before dinner. And if I had been paying attention, I would have thought about rebooking it at that point. But it was too late by the time I saw. But anyway, sorry, back to day 2.
Oh, but that's a great tip, though, to schedule photos on Glacier Day. That's really cool.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I think they do a really good job. And there's plenty of photo opportunities even without the formal photo shoot. Like, because I think so many people are waiting in line for the character meetings. Like, they also just have, like, right by the glacier, just people taking photos at the front of the ship. And I think those come out really well also. So there's other opportunities. But if you're looking for like a formal, like, Shutters photo shoot, like doing it on Glacier Day, I think would be really nice.
Yes. Going back to Tuesday, I assume it was just about dinner time.
Yeah, exactly. So 5:45 dinner. This time it was at Tritons. Our son, I think because he had just taken like this cat nap and may still have been on like semi-East Coast time and thought it was like bedtime, he was like done by 6:30 at this dinner. So everything was like fine overall, but like I had to call it at a certain point. So this was, and I should say, like we had the anniversary for the grandparents on this cruise. We also had my sister-in-law's birthday, and I missed the birthday celebration because I just had to get him back to the room before dessert. I'll also say Tritons is a little bit more challenging than some of the other restaurants because there's not really a show at Tritons ever. So that distraction that we had at some of the other places just didn't really exist. So the kids were like a little bit more restless. But this is also where the waiters, like the wait staff's magic tricks and origami and stuff really came in handy because they were able to like provide some distractions to the kids. Did not work for my son. He was like done. So I came back just by myself. My wife came in later with our daughter. But what was really nice is by the time I got in with my son, like the turn down was on the bed and they had already dropped off the photos that came included with the royal tea package. So it was like really, just nice to come back to that. But I gave the baby a bath, got him into bed like 7:15, 7:30, but he was really fussy. He was like way overtired at that point. And then our daughter came in. So it was a little bit of a scene, I would say, getting to sleep that night. The first night was very smooth. This one was a little tougher. But I think by 8:15, things were like kind of settled down. Kids were both asleep. I went up and got more ice for the freezer. And then my wife said, I'm done. I'm exhausted. I am going to bed. And I said, would you mind if I went up to go see the Golden Mickeys? And she said, sure. So I went by myself. Again, like all the kids are asleep at this point. And I think I showed up like it was probably 8:30 on the dot. So the theater was like full. I managed to like sneak in. Basically what the usher told me, go down, if you're one person, maybe two people, go down all the way on the left side, like the front rows. There's usually a couple seats on the end there. So I was able to get just like a single seat on the end, which worked out very nicely. I had my popcorn, I had my beer. I watched the Golden Mickeys. It was lovely. I'm sure my daughter would have loved it if she had any energy left that day. But yeah, I enjoyed getting to watch it. And it was nice.
Mm-hmm. It was nice. Was anybody else in your group?
No. So this is the so this is the thing. I think again, like we were very much on the kids' schedules, and I think everybody was just like done after dinner. That's something I should also mention with this family in general. When we're together as a big group, everybody's done after dinner, even back in New York. So this is not very uncommon. Like 8:00 is kind of bedtime with this family. So it's like me. I was kind of the one trying to push it a little bit, and we were able to push it on like a couple nights. But yeah, this was one where nobody had any interest, and they were all very impressed that I had even stayed awake until 9:30 to see the Golden Mickeys. So I did point out it was on the TV in the rooms also if anyone had wanted to watch it. Although I couldn't tell, like I feel like it might be a pre-recorded show from another cruise because it's either on a tape delay or something. I don't know exactly how it lines up, but either way, I thought it was nice. I thought it was a cute thing, just as like a variety show. All of the kind of like Broadway style touches, nice choreography, nice sets. It's just like kind of fun to watch. And it had a lot of my daughter's favorite characters were in it. So I think it would have been a good one for her, but we can always watch it another time.
Yes, she was tired. She doesn't know that she missed that.
From unsolved mysteries to unexplained phenomena, from comedy gold to relationship fails, Amazon Music's got the most ad-free top podcasts, included with Prime. Because the only thing that should interrupt your listening is, well, nothing. Download the Amazon Music app today.
You guys are resting up. Well, you didn't have an excursion the next day, but next day was Wednesday, August 27th, and this was Glacier Day.
Yeah, Glacier Day. So this was, again, I think the day 2 was a little bit cooler and not as nice. Glacier Day was beautiful all day. So it was sunny throughout. It was a little cooler in the morning, but still you could be outside. But also like our timing was that we didn't get to the fjord to get to the glacier until like noon. So the morning felt a lot more like a standard morning, like the same as the at-sea day. We woke up at 5:30 when the food arrived. So this is actually, I think the kids were like so exhausted and like getting adjusted to the point where they actually could have slept in more. Like the knocking on the door, I think actually woke them up when the food arrived. So we shifted our delivery back from there. But yeah, so food at 5:30. Cabanas was open at 7:15 this morning. So we went there. Baby was pretty tired there, but we still got him to hang out a little bit. He was like done by 8:00. So that was good. Oh, and I should say 2 churro Mickey days. This was one of them. So Glacier Day, and then again, like the last at sea day. But I don't know. This is like not usually my thing, but I do think that the Mickey churros are legitimately very good. So I took a plate of food down to the room with the baby at 8. I had my Mickey churro. I had some other food that was on there. And then I went out to the deck and just watched the view while we got close to the fjord while the baby napped. And yeah, then I actually, after staying out there for a little bit and drinking my coffee, I actually went back inside and took a nap myself. So yeah, I think we were all pretty tired after the start of the cruise. By day 3, it's like you're kind of settling in.
I know. I'm getting a little nervous though because your excursion seemed busy too.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a long nap. I was with him the whole time. My wife was with our daughter, just again, kids club, movie theater, just kind of hanging out. Same thing that they had done the day before. So he slept like almost until 10:30, and I grabbed a bottle. By that point, so this is like my daughter doesn't really know the Marvel superheroes, but she does know them from like some of her friends at daycare. And then also she has it's an Oral-B / Disney like toothbrush app that has characters on it. And so she's discovered that the Incredible Hulk is on there, and Spider-Man is on there, and Captain America is on there. And so she's discovered these characters like through this toothbrushing app. And when she heard that Spider-Man was on the boat, she got very excited. So by the time I came down with the baby, she was online with my wife to take pictures with Spider-Man. So we met Spider-Man. This was one where like my daughter is very hit or miss. This was one where like as soon as she saw him like up close, she got very shy and was being like silly and like kind of clinging on to me. But we got some photos of Spider-Man and the kids. And while we were online, we met another dad of a 9-month-old boy. So there were actually like a decent number of babies on the boat, which was, I think, impressive. I think everybody did pretty well with them. But yeah, we were not alone in having the 9-month-old there. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we took the pictures with Spider-Man and then went back to the French Quarter Lounge because they were doing like a 3D Belle art thing. We came late, so there was no room at the French Quarter Lounge. So we just it was like a cutout sheet and a glue stick. We just took it with us like upstairs to the 4th floor. But like we had no idea what we were supposed to actually do. So our daughter just made this kind of nice little amalgamated, like glued up thing with arms sticking out in every direction. So that was a nice little art day for her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And that gets us to basically entering the fjord. So 12 o'clock, we went to Cabanas for lunch. This is frozen day. So they had German food as part of the buffet. We basically got them fed. And then the goal for this one was, let's see if we can get them into the strollers for nap time. So baby into his Duna, daughter into her umbrella stroller. And from 1 o'clock on, we just walked deck 4. So deck 4 has the walkway all the way around, except on this day, all of the boats are like docked, or I shouldn't say all, like the Glacier Explorer boats, like the smaller boats that end up getting closer to the glacier, they were all docked, which meant that the front part of the boat was like blocked off. So you could only do a big U on the deck, which was fine. But we had to kind of like go back and forth. And anyway, like one side of the boat was very sunny. The other side was cloudier or was shaded and a little bit windier. So there was like a better side to be on anyway. So that was basically it. We really just kind of walked up and back and forth, I think on the, the port side of deck 4. They brought out hot cocoa. The naturalist who was on board was giving a talk as we got into the fjord. Once we were actually like in the fjord, I think that, again, there was like a noise situation where she couldn't actually make any announcements. She gave like a nice description. The boat, and this is the other thing with our trip, like there was the whole Air Canada situation, but there's also like a lot of, I think, like general kind of, I don't know, like climate stuff going on in Alaska right now. So Juneau, there was a big flood by Menden Glacier. And then we were supposed to go on Tracy Arm to the glacier on this cruise originally, but apparently 2 weeks before there had been a huge landslide and they closed off Tracy Arm to the cruise boat traffic while they were kind of doing whatever they needed to do there. So we ended up going up Endicott Arm, which is like south, I think, of the glacier. So we kind of came up from the south to the glacier. It was beautiful along the whole way. I'll say I skipped over this, but even in the morning, people were seeing like humpback whales coming out of the water as we were coming up on the fjord. Everything was very green and very lush and very beautiful. The weather was like absolutely perfect for it. So it was really nice. We basically from 12 until 3, we were just going through the fjord very slowly. And by 3, I think we got about as close as we could get to the glacier. By that point, the kids were awake. They crawled around on the deck a little bit. They went to the open house at the kids club for a little bit. So like we were kind of like in and out. I think we got like good glacier looking, but also like the kids wanted to play around a little bit and didn't necessarily want to be like inside. I will say one thing that was very cool is they did like a kids like sports challenge on the deck during Glacier Day. So a lot of the older cousins were like playing basketball and soccer like on the deck during Glacier Day, which was very cool. And also, we learned that if you want to exercise on the boat, the best time to go to the spa area is that afternoon, because there's like a whole panorama view like from the treadmills in the exercise area. So my brother-in-law got just like a 30-minute exercise in and took a picture from there. It was like, this was like the best view on the boat. But yeah.
But also like one of the tricks at the gym is if the boat's moving and you're on the treadmill, it's kind of disorienting. But on Glacier Day, it was like sitting still or moving very slowly. So maybe that was easier just logistically as well.
Yeah, that's probably true. Although I will say we were not big on exercises. I think that was the one time that any of us actually exercised for real. I mean, we walked a ton, but yeah, the true workout was definitely not really happening. But yeah, so we got ice cream on the deck. We went to look around at the glacier, and we were out there until about 4 when we went back to reset. So I will say I talked to the desk person from Shutters back after I had this conversation about switching the photos. I like went at 5 when it opened, and she said, sorry, that we can't do anything anymore. But she did say that this was about as close as she's gotten to the glacier on the big boat, and was like some of the best pictures that she's been able to get just in her like 30 minutes when she had her alone time to just take a few shots like after her like shift was done. And she said, so we missed this because we had gone back inside. We had a glass of wine on our balcony while we were looking out the side. But apparently around 4:30, there was a big like calving from the glacier, which is like pieces of ice falling off. So a lot of people got action shots of these big chunks of ice coming off. And again, it was all like very visible from the boat. I mean, obviously, so we couldn't do the Glacier Explorer because it had been fully booked up by the time we had the chance to book it. But I mean, you could see the ships from the ship like very easily. And they definitely got closer. But I mean, we had like amazing views. And this person at Shutters basically said, this is as good as it's gotten for her. So I feel like this is the theme throughout this trip is we were incredibly lucky with the weather. We had great views, like everything was really beautiful. And also you could be on the deck. We were not like, we were moving around more with the kids. Like we didn't really want to just stay in line, but there was no reason. Like you could easily just stay in line all day for all the characters and you wouldn't miss out. Cause I mean, we had our jackets on, but at a certain point I took off my top layer. Like I was just there in kind of like my what do you call it? Just my loose windbreaker jacket. It was really pleasant on the deck.
I just want to comment that when she said, I'm sorry, I can't help you with pictures, but they were great.
Yeah. I will say at that point, I was actually asking to push them back. So this is the other thing. Well, I'll get to it on day 7. So we also had a lot of confusion. Again, like not everybody in the party was like super familiar with the Disney cruise, the Disney cruise parlance. So we had intentionally not booked Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique originally because we were thinking this was like, we weren't sure if everyone was going to do it. We didn't want anybody to miss out. We kind of didn't do it. And then we were talking, I guess the sisters-in-law were all talking, and it turned out that one of the parents thought that she had booked Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. What she had actually booked was the Royal Court Royal Tea, but she didn't realize it. So after they heard that she had it booked for 3 p.m. on day 7, they were like, oh, we have to book it now also because we don't want our daughters to miss out on this. So basically, we originally had our photo session booked for 11 o'clock on day 7 on the last at sea day, but we were able to get 2 bibbidi bobbidi appointments at 10:45 and 11:15 that morning. So I wanted to push it back to the afternoon. So even after all, like the craziness with trying to shift it to Glacier Day and that not happening, I still needed to push it back to later in the day on day 7. So spoiler alert, only 2 of the girls actually got a bibbidi bobbidi appointment, but it worked out okay. It was just like a lot of confusion and last minute shuffling. But it worked out. And honestly, by that point, like on day 3, when they made that appointment, like there were plenty of spots left later in the cruise. And also, I'm pretty sure when we were booking before the cruise, they really didn't have that many morning spots available. So I don't know if they like open up more once people are on the ship or if people drop them, but it was a lot easier to get than we were expecting. So that was good.
Don't give up is the message.
Yes, exactly. I mean, Royal Gathering was a different story. That one was pretty tough. But yes, certain stuff, I mean, like you said, like some of the stuff that you have to pay for, they do seem to have a little bit more flexibility, maybe. Because I'll get into that also. This also happened with our Ketchikan Day. But anyway, yeah, that was it. So we were on the deck for a lot of the afternoon, and then we went back, had some wine, had the kids like reset, and then 4:30 on Frozen Day, they did the maypole dance. So this is their kind of, I don't know, like a little bit silly, like semi-Norwegian type of thing where they do a bunch of dances around the maypole. A lot of opportunities for the kids to participate. Our daughter and her cousins participated. My wife and I both missed it because we were both trying to pick up wine and beer at different bars. So maybe not the best, but I think they had a really nice time. And this is the other thing with going with a huge amount of family is like we have a video of it anyway. So it worked out nicely. They did the whole like maypole thing. And then after that at 5, we went out to the deck. And this was when our daughter tried to go to the kids club with her older cousin. And they were there for a half hour. We hung out on the deck, but then she basically said she missed us too much, and not just her, also like her other younger cousin. So we picked them up at 5:30. So she lasted 30 minutes. It was fine.
Mm-hmm. And so they can just tell the people in charge there, I want my parents, and they call you, right?
Exactly. Yeah. They send a message in the app. But the other thing is, I think I'm trying to remember, it was like, this was like 3 different families, kids who were all there. So I think one of us saw the message and got them, but I think messages went to all of us basically at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Yeah. But anyway, by that time it was time for dinner. So we had Tritons again. This was again, frozen night. So we had the frozen menu.
Were you dressed up for Frozen Night?
So again, we did not bring the costumes yet. I think I was saying, like, especially for Alaska, it's so much of the packing was going into, and again, we didn't want to do any laundry. So just having the layers was like, that was enough space. And like, we did not, at least my wife and I, we had nothing. Our daughter brought her Elsa dress and her Anna dress.
Mm-hmm.
She was Elsa as frequently as possible. So she was Elsa at dinner this night. She was Elsa on multiple other occasions on the ship. She did it quite a bit. And then I did not get an Olaf outfit for the baby, unfortunately. So he was just being his cute self. But yeah, that was I think another dinner where my daughter had salmon. My son he picked at a bunch of different things. He was mostly eating like soup basically at these different meals, but again, got fussy. So this time my wife took him back to the room. I ended up actually getting my wife's dinner to go because this is one of those things where I feel like the choreography was a little bit too slow this night. So I actually just took her plate and brought it back to the room with our daughter. And then our daughter said she really wanted to rally to see Anna and Elsa. So they did the Freezing the Night Away party up on the deck at 7:45. I think when my daughter went to the sail away party with my wife, like they got there early enough that they got a pretty good spot. This one, we got there 5 minutes before and it was like pretty much all filled up. So we went up to deck 10 and kind of got our little spot looking over it. And it was nice.
The weather was nice?
Yeah. So a little bit chilly. So we were wearing our jackets, but like mostly clear and yeah, not so bad. And I think the nice thing is it's only 15 minutes. So that helps a lot. I mean, I think obviously people sometimes have expectations that it's going to be like longer or more involved, but it was like perfect for our daughter because we got to see the whole thing. We saw Olaf, we saw Elsa come out at the end, and she was really excited, but she was also exhausted. So I think it worked out perfectly. And this was one where, in retrospect, I should have brought her back and then filled up the ice for the cooler. So by the way, we're Wednesday now. We're like 3 days in. The frozen milk is still going strong. But rather than just like bringing her down and then going back up for ice, I tried to get the ice and bring her down at the same time. And I spilled ice on the stairs on deck side. Like it was a little bit overambitious, basically. So some people helped me clean up some of the ice cubes and put them back in the bags. But we got in. Our daughter was like done. We let her skip bath time. We just put her in bed. I like cleaned up everything and then I went to sleep. But I mean, again, like my wife was like passed out by 8. So, and we, once again, like we were the only ones who went to this freezing the night away party. Like all the older kids, they were already in bed. So
tired.
Yeah.
All right. So that was kind of like 3 days in a row on the ship. And now you had 3 days in a row at ports to ramp up for. Are you ready for Thursday, August 28th in Skagway?
Yeah. So Thursday in Skagway. So again, like back to the weather theme, this was like beautiful day. The high was 65 on the boat. And I think that felt kind of accurate. But it was sunny and beautiful all day. We slept in. Oh, and I should say, when did I miss it? Oh, yeah. The clocks got set back an hour on day 3 on Glacier Day. So that was also one thing here is like the kids were really tired, but the time shift helped them get a little bit later into the morning, I think, if I'm getting this correctly. But they were up at 6:30. And by that point, the boat was already docked. So this is the nice thing about the port days is like they're pretty long throughout this Alaska trip. So we had a lot of time. We had very long excursions, but we did have a lot of time in port. So 6:30, got ourselves together and dressed. This was a day where we had a little bit of a later excursion. So we didn't have to meet until 11:15, but the guests' ashore time was 7:15. So we had like a solid amount of time to get ourselves together in the morning. So we just went down to breakfast. We got our cantaloupe and pineapple strips that we had requested, had our Mickey waffles. Oh, this is the other thing. I feel like nobody on the ship seemed to be aware of the fact that there's an omelet station. It seemed like very few people were taking advantage of this at Cabanas, but there is an omelet station like towards the, I don't know, whatever, the bread and like cream cheese area essentially. So I was getting omelets every morning, but I don't feel like that many people were doing it. But I got my omelet, got my fruit. And then, with the time zone change, now the goal was to kind of keep the baby up until 9 o'clock. So at 8, I took him out of breakfast just to deck 5, just to kind of crawl around. And this was, and again, we met another baby crawling around in the same area. So it was nice. Like you don't know what to expect in terms of like how many little kids are going to be on this type of a cruise. But, there were some other babies crawling around in different spots and got to talk to the parents of this kid as well. And yeah, he had a nice time getting some energy out. So after that, we packed up. This was like legitimately packed up for the day so that we had everything ready for our excursion. And then we decided 9 o'clock, let's take the baby on a nap in the stroller. Let's get him off the boat. Let's explore Skagway a little bit. So Skagway is like not huge in terms of the downtown. It's really, I think the claim to fame is that you can actually drive there. That's not easy in Southeast Alaska. There's not that many cities you can actually drive to. But overall, it's really like the city is basically supported by tourism and the national park system because Gold Rush National Park is like that's basically the town of Skagway. And there's a huge number of buildings within town that are still managed by the national park system, which is very cool. It's a really interesting like historical town, but it's small. It's like a mile walk down Main Street. We were docked like right at the entrance to Main Street there. So we just took our like hour-long excursion around town, saw the different sites, and then got back onto the boat for lunch. So we had pizza, couscous, sandwiches, the Euro station
at Daisy Delights.
Yeah. We got the whole sampler. We got some Daisy Delights, some couscous from Daisy Delights, some pizza from Pinocchio's, and some shawarma and French fries from Pete's, and or from Boiler Bites. And then that was like 10 to 10:45, and then we had to head to D Lounge for our excursion.
And this is everybody.
Yes. So on this day and the next day, we had everybody. So 16 of us doing the Gold Fever, Alaskan Sled Dogs, and exclusive Scenic Railway. That was our trip. So it was, I think, pretty easy. So I said 11:15. I think our meeting time for the excursion was 10:45, was 11 o'clock in D Lounge. And then we basically went from there straight down the dock and just to kind of like the end of the dock to meet our tour guide. So we had, again, Skagway, huge seasonal tourist industry. Our tour guide was Lucky Lou, who was a 25-year-old named Abby from Pullman, Washington, who had just graduated with a degree in library science and was doing her seasonal work this summer in Skagway. So she was our tour guide and also our guide at this Alaska 360 site, which was kind of the gold digging and the sled dogs all in one. So it was basically from 11 until 2, they took us through the entire facility. Waylon Jalen, taught us how to pan for gold. All the kids panned for gold. We got some snacks in the gift shop. And then
Is this the day you were worried about the lunch?
Yes. Oh, so yes, the lunch. Exactly. So this was another one where we got a notification in the app where they told us that there would be turkey sandwiches on the boat. Turkey sandwiches on the train ride, and there would be additional food for purchase if we wanted. And that is why we tried to load up. That's why we had a full lunch before the excursion to get the kids some real food. When we did the panning for gold, they basically, it was like a cute little thing. They had all the kids, they put in some little pyrite flakes, or maybe it is actual gold flake, but they put the gold flakes in there, and then they had to get the gold assayed in the gift shop. So they weighed their gold and said how much it was worth. And then while we were in the gift shop waiting for everyone to get their gold assayed, you could buy chips and drinks and whatnot. So we got popcorn and chips and hummus cups for the kids, just a little bit of something. But I'll say on all these excursion days, we basically tried to bring as many pouches and prepackaged snack bags as possible. You're not supposed to bring any fruit or vegetables off the ship. So in general, we tried to just have everything prepackaged that we brought with us. And then, the turkey sandwiches, I would say, were not very successful within our group. I ate 2 of them, so I got some, but I think otherwise it was good that we got lunch before we left.
Is your tour group just your family of 16, or is it more people as well?
It was more people. So that was the other thing that I was kind of impressed by on both of these days. And again, I think it's the excursions that we chose. I think they had enough people signed up for this that they could get multiple tour buses. So Disney had 2 tour buses going on the same excursion on this day. So that was everything. That was going to the panning for gold, going to the Alaskan sled dogs, and going to the railroad. It was 2 full tour buses going. And I got the impression that this is one that they can probably adjust the cap on. So it may have been that actually having a group of 16 was not such a problem because it's so many people that it can justify them just getting another bus. So I'm not entirely sure, but there were a lot of other people, and there were other kids on this one too. I will say within our group, this was probably the younger kids' favorite excursion. They really liked the panning for gold. They really liked meeting the sled dogs. And again, it's all in the same place, right? So the panning for gold happened. We go to the gift shop, then we go around the corner to get a description of the gold rush, the Yukon gold rush, and how people got there. And then we went to the sled dog area that was around another corner, and they talk about the Iditarod. We met some of the dogs that they've raised that have run the Iditarod, watched them pull a summer sled around a dirt area, and then meet the puppies. So that was all. It was nice. I feel like the kids really enjoyed it, and I'll say like the funniest part for me is my wife is really not a dog person. So when they were bringing out the puppies, they just go hand them around. And of course, the first person that the guy goes to is my wife and like plops one in her hands and she like doesn't know what to do with it. So there was some like nice moments along the way. But yeah, it was a very like kid-friendly type of activity, probably a little bit kitschy, but I think it was good for all of them and they all had a fun time. And then I think the afternoon portion, so that was like 11 to 2 o'clock, we took the bus back down to the White Pass Railroad, and this was like more for the adults. So 2:15, we got on the train, and it is not a short loop. It was like 2.5 hours where we go up to Canada and then back. And it was pretty contained. So this is where like we brought a lot of activities for the kids, like all the coloring, all the stickers, everything that we would use to entertain them. We got these little like suction cup things to stick on the windows for mainly the baby to spin, although that was like helpful for the kids too. It was kind of an all hands on deck thing. And this is one where I got probably the best deal of all because I'm on carrier duty for our son most of the time. So after 45 minutes on the train and everybody's a little bit stir crazy, he's like really tired. So I strapped him in. And again, the weather was nice enough. So it's a narrow gauge train, which means the rails are narrow, but also the cabin is narrow. There's nowhere to really walk. But on the front and the back of each of the train cars, there is this little standing area that's outside. So on a nice day, you can go stand on the front or the back of the train car. And I got to just like, take my son in my carrier and just bounce him outside, like looking at all the views. It was sunny, it was beautiful, and I like didn't have to deal with the worst of the kids. So that was a nice deal for me on this day and also on the next day. So that is, I guess, one pro tip is if you're good with the carrier, you can use that as a chance to kind of get a little bit of a reprieve. But it would have been like, if the weather weren't nice, it would have been really rough because I think getting like him out of that space was really helpful. I will say we had the same tour guide with us like on the train as well. So she was giving like narration of all the places that we were passing. There's like an intercom that announces different stuff that we pass, and there's like some booklets, but it was nice to have Lucky Lou as our tour guide kind of throughout and give us a little bit of an explanation of what we were passing along the railway.
Mm-hmm. It's a long time on a train.
It was a long time on a train. It was not a big train. It's hard because I feel like this is the thing that's like Skagway is like most known for in terms of the excursions of what you can do, but it is not the easiest with kids. And there were a lot of kids on our car. Because again, I think a lot of people think that, well, this is the activity to do. I still am glad that we did it. And I think it was nice. Again, Grandpa is like big on photography. So he got to go out to the deck and take pictures of all the mountains and stuff. And like we were passing by, again, this is more like mountainous landscape, not really glaciers per se, but you had all of the views in the distance of all this beautiful stuff. We went through a couple tunnels. There's a massive lake system at the top of the pass, which is really like how that's how they got to the gold rush, is they took boats like down the lakes to get out there to the Yukon. So it was very beautiful, but a lot for the kids and definitely not their favorite part.
In like an Amtrak type train, I think traveling with kids is amazing because they're not strapped in car seats. So it's a little bit more freedom, a little bit easier, but it was a different situation that you're in.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was sort of like my wife is always a little bit nervous of this one, but she said I was really expecting it to be a little bit more like an Amtrak where there was like a food truck. The other thing that I'm not entirely sure about is that this was the exclusive scenic railway, which I'm pretty sure is like an older car that's like more historical. So maybe some of the cars actually are like better appointed, but I'm not entirely sure if that's the case. Either way, it was a lot for the kids.
Yeah. And it's a long day. You had a lot of stuff going on. So at the end of the train ride, then what?
Yeah. So by that, it's 5 o'clock at this point. So we've got dinner at 5:45. We did just like a very brief stop in Skagway. I was trying to pick up like magnets and postcards at some of the gift shops along the way. But yeah, we basically got right back on the boat. I think that was kind of it. And
was there a lot of the kids in your group were tired? They take naps, just including your daughter. So she made it through?
She made it through. She took no naps this day. Yeah, she made it through all the way. I mean, again, so other than our son, I don't think anyone took a nap, but they were very tired. And basically dinner that night was Animator's palette. So you have a bunch of zoned out kids with a bunch of animations on the walls around them. And I think they all just zoned out and looked at the cartoons, and that was dinner. Like our daughter barely ate anything. And she like lost it basically. She made it at like until 6:50, and apparently Mickey comes out at the end of this meal at 7:00. So she did not make it until Mickey. My wife had taken my son. My wife took my son back at 6:30. I took my daughter back at 6:50. So yeah, it was, and this was not just us. Like this was other cousins as well. Like they were all pretty done at the end of this day. It was a lot. The other thing that I should say with this, and this is one of the, so when I left, I told the waiters, because I think my dinner had just come out and my wife's hadn't actually been served yet. I said, I'm really sorry. I got to go. Can you deliver it to the room? And again, this was, I don't know if this was so much later than other nights, but I do think that like the main course seemed to come out later. So I came back to the room. We got the kids like set up, and 7:30, the food still hadn't arrived. So I had to go.
Did you say 7:30?
7:30, yeah.
It's very late, and they have a whole group to serve later.
Yeah. So I went back to the restaurant. They had our food on the side. What they were planning to do was close everything down, like completely finish their service, and then send someone down with dinner. And that basically that probably would have happened. It might have happened like right then, but probably would have happened like 7:45, like right before the next round of service. So by that point, I was like, no, I'll just take the food down myself. It's fine.
Thank goodness you did leave. Yeah. It's not like your food arrived right after you left. It would have been a while.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, but I did miss. So one nice thing. So as I'm complaining about like the food services, when we got back to our room, the room attendant had surprised us with frozen sheets on our daughter's bed. And we asked her, I don't think it had happened for everybody in our party. And again, like our daughter had been wearing her Elsa dress like all day on Glacier Day for Frozen Day. And I think maybe he just saw her running around with her Frozen dress. It's one of these ones that has like a very long, whatever you call it, not cape, but like a long tail. So she was kind of like dragging it down the hallway essentially. And I think he saw it and gave her the frozen sheets.
I think it would be a train.
Yes, a train, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so she was very appreciative of that. That was a very nice thing, and very, very cute also.
Cute. And I think sometimes it's a surprise, and sometimes people ask.
Yeah,
but it's more fun when it's a surprise.
It was definitely fun when it was a surprise, and yeah, I didn't know to ask for it, so it was very cool that he did that.
I know during my own cruises, sometimes I'll do Q&As like on Instagram, and people are like, "Did you get character sheets?" I'm like, "Me? Do you think they're going to surprise me with the character sheets?" I think we'll save those for the kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that the end of your Thursday?
That was the end of my Thursday, basically. So we ate dinner on our bed. The food was good. We got steak and a shrimp salad, and that was good. And then I stayed back this night. So I had gone on Tuesday to go to the Golden Mickeys. This was the night that I let my wife explore. So she watched the start of Freakier Friday so this night was movie night. And it was basically just Freakier Friday in the Walt Disney Theater. They didn't have any performance or anything like that. And she watched it a little bit and said it was fine and then came back. So, yeah.
And I'm exhausted.
Exactly, yeah.
All right. Big day. All right. Another big day coming up. Friday, August 29th, but this was in Juneau.
Yes. Yeah. So Juneau, again, it said in the app the high was 65, but it felt a lot warmer in Juneau. It was beautiful. It was sunny, and it was an earlier day. So this one, our daughter woke up at 6, our son woke up at 7, and we got ready for the day immediately because our tour left at 9:30. So we had breakfast at Cabanas after we had packed everything up. This day, I'll say for these days, we've been taking like the carrier and the like fold down stroller, not our son's car seat on these excursions, just to get around. So we were docked, and again, we had actually docked once again by the time we woke up, and we were in AJ dock, which is further from the downtown area in Juneau, about a 30-minute walk. So they were running shuttles, but the entire day was on our excursion, so it didn't really make that much of a difference for us. So yeah, we had 7:30 breakfast, and then I'll also say, we switched our Ketchikan activity this morning at the Port Adventures desk. We had originally only been signed up for one activity, but we turned it into something more. So I'll talk about that on the next day. But after that, put the baby into the carrier, walked over to our port adventure, which was meeting in Azure. And then we debarked through the aft at 9:30. So this time we took the bus. We did have a guide for this bus as well, and went to Allen Tours, which is north of Juneau. This is about a 30-minute drive. We drove past parts of the Mendenhall Park on the way, and then we went to Auk Bay for whale watching. So I think there's two main areas for wildlife viewing. Auk Bay is more like the humpback whales, and then I think there's other wildlife that's a little bit more in Icy Strait, but we chose this one because for Best of Juneau, they basically have the whale watching and then a lunch at this lodge on the water. What we didn't realize is it's all owned by the tour company. So nobody goes to this lodge if they're not on a tour. So again, it is a touristy way to do Juneau, which I think was good for the kids, but may not necessarily be the way that you would want to do it. But I thought it was very nice. So we were on the boat for whale watching in Auk Bay by 10 o'clock. And then we were out on the water for about 2.5 hours-ish.
Long time.
Yeah. So again, similar to the train, this one was a little bit less contained. There was a little bit more in terms of food. They had donut holes and coffee and hot chocolate, there just for the taking. And then you could purchase other snacks. So that was all fine. But yeah, the kids were in their seats. We needed a lot of activities. There was whale watching, but even the whale watching was only gonna capture interest for that long. So yeah, it was another one where I had the baby in the carrier actually more towards the end. I was kind of back and forth, but it was beautiful outside. So we were trying to spend some time out on the top deck. It was very sunny and bright. You had great views all around. It was a very beautiful place for the whale watching. We really only saw 2 calf pairs of humpback whales, but there was they were definitely moving around, and it was kind of fun. And there were some other animals as well, some sea lions that you could see. So it was beautiful. It was very nice views. But again, with kids, it's a lot to be in one place. Mm-hmm. So 12:30, we got to Orca Point Lodge, which is, again, it's on this private island that is operated by the boat company. Long dock going on, a bunch of seasonal workers who are really there to kind of serve food and prepare food at that place. It was really a really good lunch. They did a ribeye steak, an Angus ribeye steak, and our son, they were cutting it off the bone as it goes as they were serving it, and I just gave a bone to my son, and he carried it around for the next hour, pretty much until we got back onto the boat. He was
like a little caveman.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so funny. You're carrying him around, and every middle-aged man that I was walking up to had some sort of comment for me of how getting them started young and whatnot. So yeah, it was very nice. He enjoyed it. But I mean, as a whole thing, they had a lot of food. They had fresh salmon, fresh steak. They had a whole kids station. They had homemade whipped cream that they made, so the kids could kind of see the whipped cream being made. They had a s'more station where they could pick up sticks and marshmallows and then go out back to roast them. And again, it's sunny and beautiful the entire time, so they could just run around. There was a big rocky beach down there. It was really nice for them. So I think overall, it was a really good spot for lunch. And we were there for about an hour and a half. And then we got back on the boat to go back to the dock. That took another half hour on the boat. And then we got back on the car or back on the bus to go to the national park. That was only 15 minutes. But like at this point, the kids are losing their minds. They are like ready to go. And we have just entered a national park and we only have an hour there. So this was like probably about as uncontrolled as they were on the trip. I mean, I think the Mendenhall was really nice, but there's a lot of granite rocks kind of like along the walking path. And the kids were just like, they're all climbing, they're all like running over the rocks. It was just like, it was one of those things where you kind of felt like it was an accident waiting to happen. So there was a lot of redirecting of energy that had to happen. I mean, again, I think the kids had fun, but this is one of those days where like, maybe we could have chosen one that was like a little bit more like kid activity oriented for this day. It just felt like it was a lot of looking at things and running around for them. So, but I mean, Mendenhall was beautiful. I convinced my daughter to go up to the gift shop. So we had a little bit of a contained space to get her energy out somewhat, but yeah. It was a lot there. And then the bus was also running late getting back. So we were then just like waiting in the parking lot area for 15 minutes with them again climbing on everything in sight. So I think we were a little bit frazzled by the end of it, but we did okay.
Yeah. It seems like the length of these tours is a factor because you may have been able to kind of keep things corralled for a little while, but 6 hours is a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think this was one of those things where like we're trying to balance the kids and then also the adults seeing things. Like I think we're all thinking of this as like the once in a lifetime trip to Alaska. So being able to see the Alaska stuff is still important. But yeah, it turned into long days. But to be fair, they would have been out of control by this point of the day, like on the ship also. So I think it's all right.
You're like, we could have been home, but we were just in Alaska.
Yeah. But the thing is, for this, we were really there until the very end. Like the guests all aboard time at Juneau was 4:45 p.m. We got onto the boat at 4:40. So we were like there until the bitter end. Did not have any time in Juneau, which again, could have been nice to see the town a little bit, but I think it was okay. And I think everybody still had a good day overall. This is a day that we skipped our pre-planned dinner because this is the Frozen show. So we got onto the boat at 4:40 and then did dinner on deck 9 at all the different fast service places. The kids all got their ice cream after dinner. I think we did a good job resetting. And then at 5:30, we all went down to the Walt Disney Theater for the 6 p.m. Frozen show. We brought the baby also. We brought like all the kids went. And it was a really good show. Like our son, we've never seen our son clap before, but like when everybody applauded when the show started, he started clapping. He was very like amazed by everything. Our daughter, of course, was like entranced. The 9-year-old said it was incredible. I think this was a really nice show, and I'm glad that we all got to go. The staging is like excellent.
I'm also glad that because in your pre-trip you had planned to go to your normal dining rotation and then the 8:30 show. But
yeah,
you skipped.
You
just skipped it, and we're like, we're going to go to that first one.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a possibility of us like pushing our daughter on some of these things, but pushing all the kids was like not going to happen. So I think they all wanted to see Frozen, and I think for that we really needed to do the early showing. So it worked out well, and yeah, we had no problem getting seats for all of us. We weren't trying to sit like super close, but I think it worked out really well, and it was definitely the right decision to go to the early showing that day. There was no chance we would have made it. But yeah, and this is also like at the end of a really long day, I felt like that was pretty good. Kids were asleep by 8, baby was asleep at 7:30, daughter asleep at 8, and my wife was asleep at 8:45. So this was another one where I explored on deck. I didn't need to see the Frozen show again, so I got some French fries as a late night snack and watched a little bit of Thunderbolts, like the new Marvel movie, until bedtime. And that was my night.
Okay. You had one more port day, Saturday, August 30th, Ketchikan, but you had a change of plans for your excursions.
Yeah. So this is one where we were intending to do a shorter excursion, but we changed it to a longer excursion. I am very glad that we changed it. And I will, I guess, explain later in the day. But yeah, so we were originally signed up for just the exclusive Great Alaskan Lumberjack show, and we changed it to Alaska Family Fun and exclusive Great Alaskan Lumberjack show. So the Alaska Family Fun that this is referring to is the the Saxon Village, which has like the totem poles and totem pole carving, and the Alaska Discovery Center, which has kind of a description of Ketchikan and the surrounding area. So again, really nice day, weather in the 70s. This was one where we got to the port a little bit later, so it was a little bit more of like a standard morning for us. This is also one where like on the Juneau and Skagway days, Cabanas was open early because the port was open early, but this is one where Cabanas wasn't open until 7:15, and we had to twiddle our thumbs a little bit waiting for the buffet to be open. But we got there, we met up with our cousins there. Nap time for the baby once again at 8. This time we did it in the room. My wife brought him back to the room. I stayed up with our daughter. We brought coffee down, and then I brought our daughter to see Lilo and Stitch in the Buena Vista Theater. That was the family movie that they had, and we watched it. We got there like after it started. We watched it until it ended, and then went to the Oceaneers Club. And I think we had realized that they do like story time sometimes during open house in the Oceaneers Club, and Belle was reading story time. So
That seems so fitting.
Yeah, we like just missed the very end of her story, but we got to say hi and wave goodbye as she walked in. And then the cousins met us in the kids club, and our son was still asleep. So at that point, like I had other adults with me. So I said, all right, I'm going to go trade places with my wife. So I went back to the room. She went up. By this time we had docked in Ketchikan, and then baby woke up around like 10:30, basically. So everything, we were able to go onshore at 11:15. And for this excursion, we had to be at the D lounge for check-in at 12:30. So the thought process was, well, maybe we can actually get lunch on shore. And that's what we did. And I'll say, so this is the excursion that we had with the younger kids. On the last 2 days, we had everyone together in a big group. On this day, the older kids went on a fishing excursion. This is one of those ones where I think we realized, especially on this day, like part of the appeal of Alaska is some of the excursions that are just not available for young kids. So if you had your choice, it would probably be better to go with older kids, and I mean like teenagers, just to be able to do all of the things that are exciting in terms of being out in the wild in Alaska. But even this one, like the fishing boat excursions, you needed the kids to be at least 5 years old. So all the younger kids were staying back and doing the Lumberjack show and the Alaska Family Fun. The older kids did an excursion where they fished and then did a fish camp dining, basically. So they went to a fish camp. They cooked their own food. So they actually left a little bit before us. We saw them getting onto the fishing boat while we were in town getting lunch. Our boat was docked like right next to the downtown in Ketchikan, so it was a very easy walk. We went to Alaska Fish House and also got pizza at the place next door and just ate on the benches outside there. The food was solid. It didn't feel like as special as I was hoping, but I also got like fish tacos that were like in hard shells. I'm not sure fish tacos were like the right thing to get in Alaska, so maybe that's on me, but it was good. And then we grabbed the kids some candy at the store around the corner and then got back on the boat at 12:30 to get over to D Lounge for the excursion. So it was literally like off the boat, eat lunch, back on the boat, back off the boat, and then we headed to the bus from there. Our bus driver was also like kind of tour guide for the trip. He was from Idaho and his wife was also from Idaho, and they had moved to Ketchikan together and were basically doing bus driving in the summers, like during the tourist season, and then school the rest of the year and saving up money for whatever their futures were. So it was a nice little cute story with them, and they were very pleasant and got us over to Saxon Village around like 1:00 that afternoon.
And how many people from your family were in this particular excursion?
Yes. Okay. So this one, we had 11 of us on this excursion. So there were three adults and 3 kids that had gone on the fishing excursion, and the rest of us, so the younger 4 kids and the rest of the adults, I guess actually, no, that makes sense. 3 and 3. Oh yeah. Sorry, 10 of us. So the remaining 4 kids and the rest of the adults were all on this excursion,
including the grandparents.
Including the grandparents, yeah.
Okay.
The grandparents did not have an interest in going on a small fishing boat. And it was like, I mean, it was a legitimate small fishing boat. It did not have room for more than 6 people.
Yeah. So you still had a big group, though.
Yes, we did. And this was another one where, again, there were 2 buses for this tour. And I think they could have easily done more if there was enough demand for the one that we did. So we changed this the day before, and we had no problem getting onto this excursion.
But you all agreed to change, all 10 of you.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that is lucky that they had the availability because you never know.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing. Like, I don't know if this is one of those situations where like it was easy enough to change and they could accommodate it. But yeah, they didn't seem to have a problem. And I don't know what the story was with the excursions. I think we talked about in the pre-trip, like maybe it's because we were doing such like family oriented, like young kid oriented excursions. And those were not like the most in demand. But yeah, we didn't really seem to have a problem with it. I think it's also possible that in Alaska, a lot of people organize excursions through third parties. So that may have also been the story, that there just wasn't as demand specifically for the Disney excursions on this one. But
Do you have any sense for how full the ship was?
I have nothing to compare it to, so it's really hard to say. I mean,
I
it
didn't know if
seemed
they
like a lot of
said
people to
anything.
me. Yeah, they didn't say anything to us. Yeah, I don't remember them saying anything about how full the sailing was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in Disney World terms, this time of year is low crowds because so many people are already back in school.
Mm.
And so I just don't know if that impacts the Alaskan cruises at all.
That is interesting. So, because I mean, from our perspective, this was like the perfect week because this is like school for us starts this week. So this felt really ideal, but that is interesting. I wonder if it is a little bit less busy. And I'm sure like the sailings through the rest of September, I think our service said there were 3 more sailings after ours before they go down to Australia. Or sorry, go down to Hawaii to go to Australia. I think that it seemed like that would be the time that there's probably much quieter boats, or at least less kid-filled boats. But yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this excursion.
Yeah. So we went to Saxman Village. This is a Tlingit village that basically the tribes that were in this area originally didn't really have permanent camps in Ketchikan. It was sort of like a fish camp area because the fishing is really good there. So it was very seasonal. But back in the late 19th century, there was a school teacher named Saxman who basically convinced them that, hey, listen, if you don't have a patch of land around Ketchikan, like it's going to get fully taken over by the settlers here. So let's actually, you should actually set up a village here. So this is like the actual traditional native village in the area. There's a collection of totem poles historically. And also this really does seem to be one of the main centers of Tlingit art. One of the most famous Tlingit artists in the world lives there and has his workshop there. So we got to see the totem poles. They did a traditional dance. And then this guy, Nathan Jackson, was just kind of in the corner in the totem pole carving area. He has a couple apprentices. He's 87. He turned 87 like the day before we were there. But it was kind of cool to see just like this guy who has really defined himself around preserving this art and continuing to make it. And his works are really everywhere globally. So we got to see that. No active like carving being done, but we got to see some of the work that they were doing in the space. Went to the gift shop there. And then after that, we were there for probably hour and a half-ish. And then we went to the Discovery Center, which was in town. They walked us through the exhibits in the Discovery Center. Again, like more on kind of the native history in the area, more on the wildlife and just the history of Ketchikan itself. And then they had a little bracelet making activity, and that was with very small beads. So I took my son out of that room and he just crawled around the Discovery Center lobby. But it was nice. It was, again, like fairly adult oriented stuff, but like the kids, I think, had enough stuff to look at and appreciate there that it was okay. I think it worked out fine. And it was good that we did this because the main event right after that was the Lumberjack show. And this was originally the only thing that we had signed up for was the Lumberjack show. So that started at 3:45. I think it was literally across the street from the Discovery Center. So we walked across the street at 3:30. The only seats that were left were in like the sunny portion of the stadium. So maybe our guide should have told us to go a little bit earlier so we could have gotten better seats. The kids were, again, like restless and not wanting to sit in a bench. They did bring out Goofy to do some calisthenics with the kids. This was like the exclusive Lumberjack show part of it, but I don't think it was all that engaging for the kids. And then like by 3:50, maybe 4 o'clock. By 4 o'clock, Grandma was like, "Let's go," and we just we just walked out. I think we made it through 2 actual events with the Lumberjack competition, and it was cute. I think the show itself was good, but it's like this awkward thing where the older kids would have loved this, but the older kids were old enough to do another excursion. So we were there with like a 3-year-old and 2 4-year-olds, and they did not care about what was going on. And like my daughter like asked my wife, like, when does the show start after the second event had started? So it was not a great fit for them, I would say. Meanwhile, I had my son back in the carrier trying to get him to take a nap. So I was just like bouncing him by the concession shop. I had literally just bought a beer and was going to drink a beer while I was rocking him. And then everybody like came over towards the exit and was like, all right, we're leaving. So it was not a very long-lived trip at the Lumberjack show, but it seemed fun. And it seemed like the older kids would have gotten a kick out of it, but they were busy on their other excursion.
So when you walk out, then where do you go?
Yeah. So we walk out. So when you walk out, you're just in Ketchikan. It's really like right there.
In the city.
And amazing timing. Literally as we walked out, the rest of our party who had been on the boat just walked into like by us on the street. Like they had just gotten off of their boat and were going to the gift shop there. There's a big kind of like gift complex there. So it worked. It ended up being perfect timing. The older kids loved their excursion. That like my brother-in-law said, this is one of the best meals I've ever had. They had fresh caught rockfish that they cooked on the fire there. They did some rockfish ceviche. They did some teriyaki rockfish for the kids. They made this like apple crumble thing that was really good. So I think that excursion was great. And we were just kind of like, all right, yeah, just hanging out. So I think it worked out very well for them. And it worked out pretty well for us, especially that we got to meet up with them. We got a few gifts at the gift shop. And then by 5, we were back on the boat.
Mm-hmm. And did you go to dinner this night?
We did. Yeah. So this night we actually did bath time before dinner, which possibly we should have considered doing every night. But yeah, we got ourselves ready and then had dinner back at Tritons. So we missed Tiana's the night before. So of all the dinners, we got Tritons 3 times on this boat and Tiana's once and Animator's palette twice. But yeah, dinner at Tritons. When we were walking in, they were taking pictures with Captain America's shield. And again, our daughter has been into all the Marvel characters despite not knowing anything about them. So she took pictures with the shield, which was very cute. And then we went into dinner. This night was like a little bit more calm. Our baby was not losing his mind as much. So we got ourselves like a more regular dinner. I took the baby back to the room for bedtime at 7. And my wife actually came back and dropped off some dessert and then went back to dinner after that. So I stayed in the room, basically got our son to bed. I did order some room service, like again, like a cheese plate and a little bit more dessert. Cause I don't know. It was a weird thing where if you don't order dessert room service, after dinner time, like the only thing that's available is ice cream. And like that wasn't really cutting it. So I got some more chocolate cake just in case for dessert. And yeah, put our daughter to bed at 8. My wife was once again very tired. So I had this cheese plate, I had this chocolate cake, and I said, I am going to go see the show. So I it was like a juggling comedy act that night in the Walt Disney Theater. I watched that. I ate my like non-popcorn dessert there and then went back to the room at 10 and went to bed.
Okay. You're such a night owl for
my
group.
family. Yeah.
Yes. And by the way, was it still bright outside?
It was not. I think it stayed bright until like maybe 8:30. And then by then the sun was down. The other thing I should say on all this is, so the WhatsApp group was very active and the Northern Lights were out like during this whole sailing. So there was a Northern Lights group where people were posting at 12, 1, 2, 3 in the morning of all the pictures that they were getting. So this was another one where I was glad I was part of the group because I could live a little bit vicariously through others who were actually capable of staying awake that late. That was definitely not in the cards for me. So
someday.
Yeah,
someday.
Exactly.
From unsolved mysteries to unexplained phenomena, from comedy gold to relationship fails, Amazon Music's got the most ad-free top podcasts, included with Prime. Because the only thing that should interrupt your listening is, well, nothing. Download the Amazon Music app today.
Okay. So the next day was your last full day on the ship, Sunday, August 31st, a day at sea.
A day at sea. Yeah. So 7 a.m., wake up. The time zone had changed overnight again. So we're now back to West Coast time. At this point, we're kind of going down British Columbia. A little bit cooler and cloudier in the morning this day, but it did clear up in the afternoon. So again, like another really nice day. Breakfast at Cabanas, Mickey churros this morning. And then now 9 o'clock with the time change, not 8 o'clock anymore, 9 o'clock. Baby got tired, so I brought him back to the room, and this was Royal Gathering. And so this was perfect that this was nap time for the baby because I had made a reservation for 4 for Royal Gathering. I didn't think about the fact that I was probably going to be in the room with my son. So instead of me and him going, they did all like the younger girl cousins. Actually, all the girl cousins got to go to the Royal Gathering. So we had, again, like the 9-year-old girl and then the 2 4-year-olds and the 3-year-old. They were all able to take pictures. My wife still scanned her wristband, but basically they said it was totally fine for them to go. So it all worked out. There were no tears shed over Royal Gathering on this day.
So just to clarify, in case this comes up for anybody else, did you have a total, was it your wife and 4 kids?
Yeah. So it was, I'm trying to remember exactly. I should look at those photos again to just confirm. But yes, the way, so what they said was, because my wife asked at guest services. Yeah, I think she asked at guest services that morning beforehand if she could change it to different people in our party. And they said, you have to do it like when you're there at the Royal Gathering, but otherwise it should be fine. And so the actual reservation that we had made was 2 adults and 2 kids. Mm-hmm. But I think because we were all part of the same party, she was able to just tell them in real time there that she was just switching who was there. I think they needed at least one person who was on the original reservation, but I'm not entirely sure how it works because she still scanned her wristband. And then there was one more cousin who went instead of her into the pictures. And I'm not sure that anyone actually noticed that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it should be a big deal. And my thing is too, if it doesn't change the number of pictures, like the amount of time, then party size shouldn't matter so much.
Well, that's the other thing is, I mean, I do wonder if there's a way that everybody could have gotten it, but like this was everyone who wanted to be into the picture anyway. So I think it worked out really nicely. Mm-hmm. So they did that. That was 9:15. And then Moana was out after that. So my daughter came back to the room to get her autograph book. Baby was still sleeping. So this is when I'm just like in the room watching the US Open. My mom's just taking princess photos.
But also thankfully the baby's sleeping because you have those other photos to do.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So he slept until 10:30. Oh, and I forgot. So we've had the freezer breast milk for the entire trip. This is the first formula bottle. So we got from Monday to Saturday with the breast milk with just ice and the frozen bags and our cooler bag. So I felt like we did pretty well. So I made the first formula, or I guess the second formula bottle for him, got him dressed. And then at 10:45, this is my daughter's bibbidi bobbidi appointment. So at that point, like she came back to get herself ready and then she went at 10:45. At 11 was the Jack's baby dash. So Please
tell me. Please tell me your baby did it. Oh, yes. That is such good news.
So, and this is again, like, I wasn't sure what my family's thoughts were going to be, but they were very excited about this. So yes, we signed him up for the baby race. And this is like my daughter specifically took the 10:45 bibbidi bobbidi appointment because there was 10:45 and 11:15, but the races started at 11:15. So it was very like she really wanted to be done in time to see him do his race. So my daughter took the 10:45, her 3-year-old cousin took the 11:15 appointment. And then we registered the baby. So there were at least 9 infants on the boat who could not walk because they had 3 heats of 3 babies. And it was, again, very nice because I think all the family was like aware this was happening. So all the cousins who were not getting their hair done were like down there. And again, very nicely, they said one parent has to like set the baby down, but then whatever cheering section wants to be on the other side can be there. So this was like an interactive thing for the cousins to be able to cheer on the baby while he crawled. And in the middle of his first heat, my wife and my daughter showed up. So they were there for his entire race. He won his first heat because one of the other babies was asleep and the other baby was very confused. Like they were trying to use like a magic band to motivate him, but he would just crawl to the middle of the mat where the magic band was and stop. So yeah, so our son won.
What was your strategy to get your son to go?
Well, I think he so he is very happy to be in it. My daughter would have melted down if she did this at this age. She would have been overwhelmed. He's very much like a city kid. He loves being in the middle of stuff. So, I mean, it's a massive amount. 3 decks full of people like cheering you on. He was just sitting there smiling, basically taking it all in. And then my wife showed up and he said, "Oh, it's mom," and crawled to her. So he was just kind of hanging out. He did not do it very quickly. And then, so in the final, they had the 3 finalists, and one baby she did this in the first race also, in the first heat. She crawled almost to the very end, and then as soon as she got kind of within like close distance of mom, she turned around and went back to dad. So she did this. The other baby had the cool little scoot thing that she did, but my son, I don't know. I think he's just the way that he operates. Like he saw like the Disney, like, I guess, cheering section, like off to the side, he started crawling towards them. So he cuts off like the scooting baby, and then she stops in the middle, doesn't know what to do. And he then goes like back towards mom. So he won the Jack baby race. He won the final leg. And I will say that like pretty universally, all the kids said that this was the highlight of the cruise, that he won the baby race. It was very cute. He had a really good time. I think we all had a very fun time. And I think it actually was a big highlight. He got a little medal. They give them all Jack bibs. It was great.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
When you were saying earlier about how he's 9 months old and likes to pull himself up, I was thinking he's kind of at a perfect age for the Jack race.
Yes,
because
exactly.
He can't quite walk, but he can move. And I just didn't think that you would participate. And then he won.
Yeah. No, it was very fun.
That's so cute.
Yeah, he did a really nice job. And then at that point, so the other cousin's bibbidi bobbidi appointment was over. So we met up with her up there. And this was, so we realized that I think the night before that it was only those 2 cousins that actually had the hair appointment. So the other girl cousins went up and they bought dresses there. And I think they let I don't know if that's, you need an appointment to do it, but whatever way, either because we were in the same party or because it was open, like they let them buy the dresses. They got their accoutrement. I think that worked out very nicely. And everybody was happy with that. So that was not as much of a disaster as I was worried it would be.
So now I have a picture in my head of how they're all going to look in the photos.
Yes, exactly. Not everyone with their hair done, but yeah, 2 of them with their hair very done. Yeah. And let's see. At that point, so we went to lunch after that, went to Cabanas. It was South Asian theme buffet for lunch, and then nap time at 12:45. So this is like good timing for photos at 2, I think, where he can get a little bit of a nap. My wife took the baby back to the room. I took the 9-year-old and my daughter at 9-year-old cousin's request to see Fantastic Four. It was not very age appropriate, but it worked out okay. So yeah, I think we were all right. And then we got out of the theater at 1:50 because we had our portraits at 2. So this was one where, again, would have been nice to have the glaciers in the background, but we took photos in the atrium next to Ariel. We actually got to go up onto the steps to take some photos. We went out to deck 4 and took some pictures with the BC islands in the background. So it actually was very nice. And they took maybe like 40 minutes for photos. We could have probably done a few more like individual family portraits, but I think by that point, everyone was feeling okay with just being done with it. And yeah, 2:45 went to Oceaneers Club for slime making. Baby once again played with hula hoops, made some slime. And then 3:15, we went up to deck 9 to get ice cream. So now we're into just kind of like enjoying the afternoon. My daughter watched a little bit of Zootopia on Funnel Vision. I put the baby into the carrier to see if he would take a nap. And then my wife went back to the room to start packing up a little bit. They actually had the Encanto celebration at 2:30 and 4. So we went to the 4:00 Encanto celebration. There was like a make your own maracas, but it was mainly just my daughter and her cousin just like dancing around basically. Her and the 3-year-old really had a great trip together. They had a lot of similar energy, I would say. So it was nice. And apparently, Bruno and Mirabelle do not always show up, but they did show up on this cruise. So this is like 4:30-ish. They showed up at the end of the dance party, took pictures. At this point, the baby's asleep. So we are all like, I think, doing very nicely. Went down to the French Quarter Lounge. Kids had some of the bar snacks. My daughter like used a toothpick to take all the pimentos out of her olives. So she has the pictures of her with a really nice stick of olives. And then we had some drinks. Our family went to Shutters to look at the proofs and they bought like the digital package. And this was a gift that we got for the grandparents. So we at least tried to like contribute a little bit here. But yeah, very, very nice photos I think we got of the whole family, and some really cute photos of some of the kids together also. They did like a boys photo of like the 6 and 7-year-old and our son that turned out really nicely. So yeah. And by this point, we had finished all the packing. You'll see, like, I tended to be like on kid duty when my wife was on bag duty. She's more organized than I am. So she did a lot of the packing and unpacking. And at that point, this is 5:30, we were pretty much fully packed up and ready to go to dinner, which was at Animator's Palette tonight.
All right. Ending with on a bang.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the one where the kids get to draw the pictures and then they put them up on the display. So they really enjoyed that. This was like the anniversary celebration was really just we got like a happy anniversary and some flowers for I say flowers, like paper flowers at the dinner that night. And this time everyone was there for it. We didn't have to go back to the room yet. So that worked out well. But that's pretty much it. I mean, 7:30 bath time, put my son down for sleep. And then my daughter was like still very wired. And so we decided this is the night we're going to push it. So my wife took her to Disney Dreams, which was a show that night. I watched it on the TV in the room, but it sounded like she really enjoyed it. She liked the Peter Pan of it all and all the different characters.
I love it.
Yeah.
Such a good show.
Yeah, it seemed very, very sweet. So I'm sad that I didn't get to go in person, but I think she had a really nice time. And I'm glad that my wife got to go out with her to one of the shows because I was the one like staying up late on most of these nights. So it worked out. So she stayed up until 9:45. We put out 3 suitcases for pickup and the cooler bag, and then just kind of wrapped ourselves up. My wife like fell asleep. I walked past the Until We Meet Again just to kind of like take a quick look, but I was pretty much done at that point also. So at 10:30, I was asleep.
And what Nathan's talking about is like it's all the characters that are available just kind of come to the atrium.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's where it was, the atrium.
Yes, it was in the atrium. Yeah. And they were on decks 3 and 4, just kind of coming through for whoever was there. And it was busy, but I think that would have been a good time to see them if I had any energy left in the tank.
It's so late, so the kids just sometimes can't make it that late.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like our daughter was the only one who went to the show that night. Like it was a lot for all of them. This is a lot of early risers and early to bed. So, but yeah, next day.
But I just want to say that sounded like a lovely day.
Yeah, this was I think actually one of the best days of the trip. I think like I felt like we were so comfortable on the boat at that point. I think all the kids had a lot of really exciting times. I think like our son winning, as silly as it is, like winning that baby race was a really big moment for the family because they were all there, like cheering him on the finish line. So I think it was really, yeah, very special. And everyone really felt like that was a highlight day in general. So
it does. It just seemed like the right mix of fun, relaxation. Everybody seemed like they handled it well. So,
yeah.
and
This was one
your
where
son won.
Yes. This is one where we didn't push them quite as much on this day. So
yes.
if
Yeah. They were
only we
probably,
could have.
they were like, whew, we get to stay on the boat today.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's also part of the appeal of the Disney cruise. It was fun that we got to see so much of Alaska. And I think the kids really did appreciate going on the shore excursions, but it makes the actual at sea days so much more fun to have the Disney stuff as well. So that was definitely like a major, cool part of it.
So next day was disembarkation.
Yes. So my wife set our alarm for 6:40, thinking that we would take 5 minutes to pack up. It took 20 minutes, so it wasn't so bad. But the kids were still asleep. So I stayed in the room. My wife went down. We had Animator's palette for breakfast. Again, this is like one of those things where I think I read about this beforehand and like totally forgot. We could have gone to Cabanas. We did not go to Cabanas. We went to Animator's palette. We didn't get down there until 7:30 because the kids slept in until 7:15. So my wife did go down while they were still sleeping to just like order some food and then came back up. But then like we had 15 minutes to eat before we got kicked out for the late dining. And then we were just kind of like hanging out outside D Lounge. So there's different ways we could have done it. Again, it was like another nice day. So we could have also been like out on the deck, but it was actually fun to be at D Lounge because again, like the kids liked being able to go dance on stage and run around a little bit, get a little bit of energy out before all of the debarkation stuff. We were, I mean, again, low man on the totem pole. We were green Tinkerbell tags, but it wasn't that slow getting through all the different groups. I think 8:45 we were off the boat. So yeah, disembarkation started at 8 a.m. and took maybe 45 minutes to actually get off. And then customs was super easy to get through. I should say this is another thing that like I hadn't really, I think on the boat, and I forget what day, Grandpa had set up a Disney transfer to the airport. And I think that worked out very nicely because we basically just got somebody to kind of like walk us through. We all had a ton of luggage, so it was a bit of a process. But we made it. We got there by, we got to the airport by 9:45. So pretty easy transfer. And we were through security and customs by 10:30. So it was, again, like not a very difficult airport day. My daughter got flagged at the global entry kiosk again because her photo doesn't match her passport, but there was no line at all to go through. So it was pretty easy. But I will say once you get through customs, you go through U.S. customs on the Canadian side. So you have one designated area that you can be in for flights to the U.S. And that terminal was insane. It was like such long lines. Like I think my brother-in-law waited like an hour in line at Starbucks just to get a coffee. So it was like super busy that morning. Over the course of the day, it got like much quieter. But yeah, it was a busy day in the terminal. But we got lunch quickly-ish at Vino Volo, which is like one of the 2 sit-down restaurants in that area. I put the baby into a carrier for a little walking nap in the terminal because our flight wasn't until 3 p.m. that day. So we were kind of around the terminal. But what we realized after we did that is that if you have a Chase Sapphire credit card and a flight with either Air Canada or United, at the Vancouver airport, you can go into the Air Canada lounge. So there's another lounge that's open for this credit card, but it seemed like a lot busier. So we went up to the Air Canada lounge. That was actually perfect. It let our son sleep a little bit for like about an hour and was just like a much calmer place to hang out. So that got us through from 12:30 until 2. And that was very helpful. I think otherwise there would have been a little bit more of a meltdown.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how you had to waste so much time before your flight boarded.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was not ideal. It was not as good as the Newark airport. Newark would have been easy because there were a lot of playgrounds, but there were no playgrounds here. There wasn't that much to do. I mean, there were the cousins. So that was the nice thing is they could kind of like semi-entertain themselves. But yeah, they got a little bit stir crazy. So it was helpful to go to the lounge. And once the baby woke up, so this is our strategy on these flights is like we try to get food in the airport to bring onto the plane. So we got a couple bowls at Route 98, which is one of the takeout counters, and then boarded the flight, left on time. Air Canada, all good. And it was a lot on the plane, but everybody survived.
And everybody in your group was on the flight?
So almost everybody. So my sister-in-law and the grandparents, they flew together down to California. They're doing like kind of an extra leg of the trip, but the rest of us all flew back to New York on the same flight. We did not have seats together. I think something happened where like we ended up like we didn't somehow get seats booked for ourselves. We were in the very last row, which was fine. But yeah, it was definitely, it was a lot. Like end of a very long week, end of a very long day. My daughter fell asleep sitting up watching Frozen 2. I think that just the extent of exhaustion. And my son did generally okay. I had him in the carrier doing the same thing, like bouncing and trying to get him to nap. So we took a couple naps on the flight, but they were like exhausted by the end of it. He fell asleep once we got him into the stroller when we landed in Newark. And he was just like out, which usually does not happen that he's so asleep. But we're talking like midnight at this point. It was a long day. And on top of that, so the one final piece of the saga is that, again, we usually take the taxi rather than an Uber from the airport. And the taxi stand at Newark was like way backed up. So we ended up having to wait much longer than usual, like 20 minutes for a cab. And then once we got into the car, like just everybody was done. So we got in 1 a.m. to our apartment, got ourselves like unpacked enough to kind of resettle, got the kids into bed, and that was that.
Did you have to go to work the next day?
Yes, but luckily I work remotely. Like I work from home. So I was able to kind of like push back my start day. And even today, like I'm working, but also kind of like an extended like admin time right now. So that's sort of like my wife and I both were able to be a little bit flexible yesterday and still somewhat flexible today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, talking to me is a commitment. It's a few hours of your day. So that's a lot. Okay. Well, overall, good trip.
Yeah, it was very, very high highs. I think a lot of the Disney magic was there. And again, I don't know, like we probably didn't maximize certain things, but I think we talked about this a lot of the kids being the age that they are. I think we did it about as well as you could possibly do. I think the excursions pushed it, but they were a way to really like see at least some of Alaska in a way that was good for the kids. And I think everybody really thought it was a very special trip. So I think there's going to be a lot of good memories. I think it was really, really a major highlight and really glad we got to do it with everybody.
Yes. I love that everybody wants to do it together.
Yes. Yeah. I know. I feel like there wasn't like the closest we got to like family drama was when we had the confusion over the bibbidi bobbidi, but it worked out like really well. I was like slightly nervous going into that day, but that ended up being one of the best days on the cruise. So
yeah,
it really worked out nicely.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah.
And the kids will have such good memories too.
I should also say that's the other thing is so the 9-year-old and the 4-year-old who didn't do bibbidi bobbidi that day, they did the royal tea after the photos. So that was like, I think they got to do something special that day also. And that was also just a nice touch as well. So I think it worked out really well.
It did. And hopefully the in-laws' 50th was as good as they hoped and they had everybody there.
Yeah.
And now they've done 50 states.
Yeah, I know. Our grandpa was very happy to get to 50, and I don't know. It's one of those things where he just said he's very, very thankful that he got to go to Alaska. He's gotten to go to all these places. He doesn't think that he's ever going to go to Alaska again, so he's really happy that he got to do it with all the family. And I think they couldn't be happier with how it worked. So
yes, and the rest of us are like, how do we get in-laws like yours?
I know that's the other thing. Yeah,
nice people. I mean, that's so fun.
Yeah, very, very thankful. And yeah, very, very lucky, I think, that we have them in our lives in many ways. So
Yeah. Well, congrats to them and happy birthday to your sister-in-law. And you did it.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing too, because I know taking the notes was another layer to all of it.
Well, that's also another fun part of the cruise. I feel like it gives me a good excuse to actually track what we're doing and seeing what the activities are and stuff. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to have that layer because I wouldn't remember half the stuff without this. So hopefully this will be a nice archive for me also.
Yeah, you'll have it forever.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time to share, Nathan.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that trip report. It makes me want to go back to Alaska with DCL. Absolutely a trip of a lifetime. If you have any interest at all, I recommend doing it. And now you can book for next year if you want to. I did keep talking to Nathan on the after chat, including talking about his feelings on taking this trip with young kids, as well as other trips that they have done as a big family group. So if you would like to listen to that or watch that, it is up on Patreon right now. That will wrap up this episode of WDW Prep to Go. For more information, please check the show notes in your podcast app or head to the website, wdwprepschool.com. Click on podcast at the top and scroll down to episode 479. Until next time, I'll see you on the site.